Marvel, it starts when it links with a great clock of the Super God Academy. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 526, Transformed into the Universe. You know very well that with me here, you can only choose from the answers I provide, Li Qingyun reminded him. After hearing what Li Qingyun said, Dr. Strangedark chose to remain silent for a while. Because he knew very well that what Li Qingyun said was the truth. With Li Qingyun here, he had no other way to go. I understand, Dr. Strangedark was not stupid. Li Qingyun's appearance here meant that everything could not be done according to his own ideas. After all, Li Qingyun could suppress it all with one hand. Just do as you said, use my own power to integrate into the cosmic furnace, restore the universe that was once destroyed because of me, and restore all those who were implicated because of me, Dr. Strangedark answered, and the first to go crazy after hearing him say so was the demon living in Dr. Strangedark's body. He struggled frantically. He wanted to get out of Dr. Strangedark's body and escape. However, since Dr. Strangedark had made a decision, how could he let the demon leave? He knew very well that if he wanted to truly create a universe, his own strength alone was definitely not enough. He had to drag along the demon in his body and the countless magical creatures he had absorbed. Very good, with your awareness, you have not let me down for coming here. After Li Qingyun finished speaking, he started to operate directly. He saw his hands changing gestures, and the scarlet magic energy began to gather in the surrounding space, covering the body of the Dark Doctor Strange. The demon in the Dark Doctor Strange was struggling frantically, and it was even begging desperately. But Li Qingyun would not care about his actions at all. He didn't even care about what state the Dark Doctor Strange was in now, and how could he care about a demon that had no intersection with him? As the energy gathered, the Dark Doctor Strange was completely controlled, and then slowly sent to the cosmic furnace. When the Dark Doctor Strange finally fell into the cosmic furnace, a strong light burst out instantly, like a supernova explosion, and like the scene of the Big Bang. Li Qingyun made a move instantly, covering all the people in the room in a ball of light, and quickly led them out of this space. As for the other people who were originally captured by the Dark Doctor Strange, Li Qingyun would not pay attention. With the Dark Doctor Strange, when his soul dissipated, he would surely send all the people he had captured back to their original universe. In space, the light began to gradually dissipate, and a brand new universe appeared in the void. In the starry sky of this universe, countless pink light points gathered together to form the appearance of the Dark Doctor Strange. However, the Dark Doctor Strange would only look at the people in front of him, but would not say anything, nor would he do anything else. You are now integrated with the entire universe. You are the universe, and the universe is you, Li Qingyun said, and the Dark Doctor Strange, who was formed by countless light points, nodded silently after hearing what Li Qingyun said. From now on, how this world develops will all be decided by you. There is no other intersection between you and me. It's time to take my children back home. After Li Qingyun finished speaking, a space gate appeared behind him. He turned and walked in. Xianxia, Zhaoqing, Xiaoyan, Captain Carter and Kehuli all followed him subconsciously and walked in together. Passing through the space portal, Li Qingyun and his companions quickly returned to the universe where the super god civilization was located, and directly returned to the main hall of the floating city. At this moment, only Liu Chuang stayed in the main hall, and everyone else went back to do their own things. After all, the current super god civilization no longer has any particularly important things that require the participation of most people. Although the main hall of the floating city is the place where the highest power is located, more things are usually handled in the Super God Academy. Therefore, only one or two people are needed to guard the main hall on a daily basis. Lord of the Divine River, Liu Chuang greeted Li Qingyun immediately when he saw him appear. Yet, Li Qingyun nodded casually. He has known Liu Chuang for so long. Although they are superiors and subordinates, they are also good friends. Naturally, he does not need to communicate too much with Liu Chuang on many things. He sat directly on the throne at this moment and turned his head to look at the 5 people of Xianxia below the hall. This time, I am still satisfied with the performance of you 3 siblings, Li Qingyun said. He was actually observing the multiverse journey of Xianxia, Zhaoqing and Xiaoyan. In the last battle, although Xianxia did not choose to send the information back, but took his brothers and sisters to deal with it on his own. It was a self-willed decision in an organization. But Xianxia, Zhaoqing and Xiaoyan cooperated very well, and the abilities they showed were also very outstanding. It is rare to be able to compete with a Dark Doctor at such a young age. In the final decision, I did not send the news back but chose to deal with it myself. This is actually not the right way, Xianxia said. He had always been trained by Hela as a king. As a ruler, he knew very well what methods and strategies to adopt when dealing with various affairs in daily life. The order he originally received was just to investigate the energy fluctuations in the multiverse. His mission was actually just to gather intelligence. The intelligence had been collected. As an executor, he only needed to pass the intelligence back to the super god civilization, and the super god civilization would naturally make corresponding countermeasures. Whether to send strong men to deal with it, or to reissue orders to Xianxia and others, it all needed to be decided by the super god civilization and Li Qingyun. But Xianxia chose to ignore all this at the time and took Zhaoqing and Xiaoyan with him. Although the ending was good, if something unexpected happened, then Zhaoqing, Xiaoyan, or he himself would encounter any accidents in this action, it would all be caused by his own decision. It's good for young people to know their own problems, but it's not worth promoting to be self-deprecating. Li Qingyun did not agree with Xianxia's self-criticism at this moment. He is the lord of the divine river of the super god civilization, but he is also just a father. A father certainly hopes that his children can have the ability to stand on their own. He also hopes that his children are confident and brave. Chapter 527, Transformed into the Universe. You know very well that with me here, you can only choose from the answers I provide, Li Qingyun reminded him. After hearing what Li Qingyun said, Dr. Strangedark chose to remain silent for a while. Because he knew very well that what Li Qingyun said was the truth. With Li Qingyun here, he had no other way to go. I understand, Dr. Strangedark was not stupid. Li Qingyun's appearance here meant that everything could not be done according to his own ideas. After all, Li Qingyun could suppress it all with one hand. Just do as you said, use my own power to integrate into the cosmic furnace, restore the universe that was once destroyed because of me, and restore all those who were implicated because of me, Dr. Strangedark answered, and the first to go crazy after hearing him say so was the demon living in Dr. Strangedark's body. He struggled frantically. He wanted to get out of Dr. Strangedark's body and escape. However, since Dr. Strangedark had made a decision, how could he let the demon leave? He knew very well that if he wanted to truly create a universe, his own strength alone was definitely not enough. He had to drag along the demon in his body and the countless magical creatures he had absorbed. Very good, with your awareness, you have not let me down for coming here. After Li Qingyun finished speaking, he started to operate directly. He saw his hands changing gestures, and the scarlet magic energy began to gather in the surrounding space, covering the body of the Dark Doctor Strange. The demon in the Dark Doctor Strange was struggling frantically, and it was even begging desperately. But Li Qingyun would not care about his actions at all. He didn't even care about what state the Dark Doctor Strange was in now, and how could he care about a demon that had no intersection with him? As the energy gathered, the Dark Doctor Strange was completely controlled, and then slowly sent to the cosmic furnace. When the Dark Doctor Strange finally fell into the cosmic furnace, a strong light burst out instantly, like a supernova explosion, and like the scene of the Big Bang. Li Qingyun made a move instantly, covering all the people in the room in a ball of light, and quickly led them out of this space. As for the other people who were originally captured by the Dark Doctor Strange, Li Qingyun would not pay attention. With the Dark Doctor Strange, when his soul dissipated, he would surely send all the people he had captured back to their original universe. In space, the light began to gradually dissipate, and a brand new universe appeared in the void. In the starry sky of this universe, countless pink light points gathered together to form the appearance of the Dark Doctor Strange. However, the Dark Doctor Strange would only look at the people in front of him, but would not say anything, nor would he do anything else. You are now integrated with the entire universe. You are the universe, and the universe is you, Li Qingyun said, and the Dark Doctor Strange, who was formed by countless light points, nodded silently after hearing what Li Qingyun said. From now on, how this world develops will all be decided by you. There is no other intersection between you and me. It's time to take my children back home. After Li Qingyun finished speaking, a space gate appeared behind him. He turned and walked in. Xianxia, Zhaoqing, Xiaoyan, Captain Carter and Kahuli all followed him subconsciously and walked in together. Passing through the space portal, Li Qingyun and his companions quickly returned to the universe where the super god civilization was located, and directly returned to the main hall of the floating city. At this moment, only Liu Chuang stayed in the main hall, and everyone else went back to do their own things. After all, the current super god civilization no longer has any particularly important things that require the participation of most people. Although the main hall of the floating city is the place where the highest power is located, more things are usually handled in the Super God Academy. Therefore, only 1 or 2 people are needed to guard the main hall on a daily basis. Lord of the Divine River, Liu Chuang greeted Li Qingyun immediately when he saw him appear. Yet, Li Qingyun nodded casually. He has known Liu Chuang for so long. Although they are superiors and subordinates, they are also good friends. Naturally, he does not need to communicate too much with Liu Chuang on many things. He sat directly on the throne at this moment and turned his head to look at the 5 people of Xianxia below the hall. This time, I am still satisfied with the performance of you 3 siblings, Li Qingyun said. He was actually observing the multiverse journey of Xianxia, Zhaoqing and Xiaoyan. In the last battle, although Xianxia did not choose to send the information back, but took his brothers and sisters to deal with it on his own, it was a self-willed decision and an organization. But Xianxia, Zhaoqing and Xiaoyan cooperated very well, and the abilities they showed were also very outstanding. It is rare to be able to compete with a Dark Doctor at such a young age. In the final decision, I did not send the news back but chose to deal with it myself. This is actually not the right way, Xianxia said. He had always been trained by Hela as a king. As a ruler, he knew very well what methods and strategies to adopt when dealing with various affairs in daily life. The order he originally received was just to investigate the energy fluctuations in the multiverse. His mission was actually just to gather intelligence. The intelligence had been collected. As an executor, he only needed to pass the intelligence back to the super god civilization, and the super god civilization would naturally make corresponding countermeasures. Whether to send strong men to deal with it, or to reissue orders to Xianxia and others, it all needed to be decided by the super god civilization and Li Qingyun. But Xianxia chose to ignore all this at the time and took Zhaoqing and Xiaoyan with him. Although the ending was good, if something unexpected happened, then Zhaoqing, Xiaoyan, or he himself would encounter any accidents in this action, it would all be caused by his own decision. It's good for young people to know their own problems, but it's not worth promoting to be self-deprecating. Li Qingyun did not agree with Xianxia's self-criticism at this moment. He is the Lord of the Divine River of the Super God civilization, but he is also just a father. A father certainly hopes that his children can have the ability to stand on their own. He also hopes that his children are confident and brave. Chapter 528 Return to Super God Civilization. Xia Ocean, although your mother has always had high expectations for you and is very strict with you, as a father, I hope that you can live a relaxed and comfortable life. Li Qingyun stood up, walked down from the throne, and came to Xianxia. Although Xianxia performed very well in this operation, Li Qingyun was most worried about Xianxia. Because Xianxia's performance made him look like a teenager. He lacked the cheerfulness and confidence that a young man should have, and he was too rigorous in his behavior and work. I know, father, Xianxia was very smart, and he always knew Li Qingyun's feelings for him. In fact, I have already thought about it. In the future, I will pass the position of the Lord of the Divine River to you, so that you can become the main god of the Super God civilization, but now is not the time. You are only 15 years old. You need more time for yourself, and you should not be trapped on this throne, Li Qingyun said, and Xianxia nodded vigorously when he heard this. In fact, I also think that it is boring to think about the king and the throne now, Xianxia said. If possible, I actually want to travel in the multiverse with my brothers and sisters, without a purpose, without a mission, and travel freely. When Xianxia said this, he turned around and looked at Zhaoqing and Xiaoyan. The 2 siblings also had the same expectation in their hearts. Now that Xianxia took the initiative to say it, they were naturally very happy. Great, I originally wanted to say that after returning, I would secretly ask you, big brother, to take me to the multiverse to play, Xiaoyan walked forward and said excitedly. However, as soon as she said this, she noticed Li Qingyun's gaze again. For a moment, she scratched her head in embarrassment. I accidentally let it slip, Xiaoyan laughed, but Li Qingyun knew what kind of personality his daughter had, so he would never argue with her. If you want to go, just say it directly. What do you mean by sneaking away? If you sneak away, how can I send you something to save your life? Li Qingyun stretched out his hand and knocked Xiaoyan on the head directly. This little girl is eccentric. Something to save my life? Dad, what treasure are you going to give me? Xiaoyan didn't care about being hit on the head by her father, and she went forward directly, wanting to know what good thing could be used as a means of saving her life. How about upgrading your sacred body? Li Qingyun asked. Sacred body? I have the time and space gene given by Aunt Liangbing in my body. The 4th generation of divine body should be the most compatible with the time and space gene, right? Although Xiaoyan is a naughty and mischievous person on weekdays, she still understands the super divine technology. Well, at least you didn't neglect your studies because of playing. Li Qingyun was very satisfied with Xiaoyan's answer. I am very smart. As long as Aunt Liangbing and Auntie Zai taught me, I can learn it immediately. Xiaoyan is very confident in her ability to learn in this regard. Alice, you are getting carried away again, Li Qingyun sighed helplessly. Xianxia, Zhaoqing, you two should also prepare an upgrade to the divine body. After the upgrade is completed, you can go directly to the multiverse when you want to travel. However, before you go, you must go to the Super God Academy to learn more about the knowledge of the multiverse. Things like the previous one that may lead to the destruction of the entire universe cannot be done casually. Li Qingyun looked at Xianxia and Zhaoqing and instructed. Xianxia and Zhaoqing are both smart people. They naturally heard the meaning of Li Qingyun's words. In the universes they have visited before, they have brought huge impacts to those universes, so that those universes may even be destroyed. Is it the M716 universe? Zhaoqing only thought about it for a while and guessed what was going on. They have been to 3 multiverses, but the one that is most involved is M716, because they not only took away the 6 infinite gems there, but also directly changed the lives of Scarlet Witch and Hela, the goddess of death. Well, it seems that you all understand. Li Qingyun saw Zhaoqing like this and knew that he had figured out what was going on. I have already dealt with it personally, and there will be no more problems. However, I will not clean up the mess for you in the future. When you do something next time, you have to consider the consequences yourself, Li Qingyun said. Yes, we will pay attention in the future, Xianxia and Zhaoqing answered in unison. Xiaoyan stood in front, but still looked innocent. Okay, you go down and meet your mothers first. They have been worried about you all the time, Li Qingyun said. Well, then we will go now, Xianxia said, and after seeing Li Qingyun nod, the 3 brothers and sisters turned around and walked out of the hall. It has been 2 or 3 months since they went out for a walk. It is the farthest distance and the longest time they have been away from their parents in these years. After the 3 brothers and sisters left, Li Qingyun turned his attention to Captain Carter and Cat Holly. And the 2 of them also walked forward at this time. Li Qingyun and the others didn't know much about it in the past, but this time they observed the power of the Lord of the Divine River at close range. A group of them surrounded and beat them, and the 2 of them even used many artifacts of the multiverse to bless their own strength, but they still couldn't beat the Dark Doctor Strange. In front of Li Qingyun, they couldn't even have the heart to resist. The Devil's desperate struggle was meaningless in Li Qingyun's hands. The Dark Doctor Strange was so easily sent to the cosmic furnace to complete the feat of reshaping the universe. Moreover, Xianxia, Zhaoqing and Xiaoyan, 3 such outstanding teenagers, are all his children, and when facing their father, they are so respectful, which is enough to show how important Li Qingyun is in the eyes of the 3 teenagers. You two, you are such special people in the universe. Li Qingyun looked at the 2 people, and under the scanning of the eye of insight and the exploration of the power of chaos, he quickly understood the situation of the 2 people. Captain Carter, a superhero who has been traveling between the multiverse for a long time and was favored by the Cosmic Observer Sox. Cat Holly, this is a superhero that Li Qingyun didn't know before crossing. Similar to Captain Marvel, they all gained abilities under the influence of the energy of the space gem, but the forms of abilities are different. Captain Marvel is the enhancement of strength and the application of light energy, while Cat Holly masters the ability of the space stone to travel through space. Chapter 529 The Stupid Liu Chuang. Captain Carter and Cat Holly were both looking at Li Qingyun at this moment. They now knew Li Qingyun's identity and ability, but they didn't know how he would deal with them. Cat Holly, you should still have family, right? Li Qingyun looked at Cat Holly. According to the information he read, the universe where this superhero was located should not have been destroyed, and the entire universe was in good condition. In other words, Cal could return to his own world and continue his original life. The conspiracy of Dr. Darkstrange has been destroyed, and the world we are in should be able to return to normal, Cal replied. Then do you want to return to your original world and return to your family now? Li Qingyun asked. This, Cal hesitated. She was different from Captain Carter. She still had a home in a hometown. But if she went back, wouldn't Captain Carter be very lonely? I understand. Li Qingyun saw Cataly's hesitation at this moment, and naturally understood what she was thinking. So, Li Qingyun turned his head and looked at Captain Carter. My kids should have told you before that they would bring you back to our place and introduce you to Steve Rogers here, right? Li Qingyun's question made Captain Carter laugh awkwardly. The three kids did say that at the time, and I thought it was a joke, so I just agreed. Captain Carter actually wanted to find a single Captain America and live happily with him. But how could she say this in front of others? Even if it's just what my kids said casually, as a father, I have reasons to help them realize it. Besides, Steve Rogers has remained single all these years. I'm afraid he has always had you in his heart and can't let you go. Li Qingyun knew some of the people with names in the Super God civilization, and Captain America was one of the permanent staff of the Super God civilization, and he was also a more capable subordinate under Wanda. Therefore, Li Qingyun naturally knew about Captain America's situation. Even if he didn't know it originally, as long as he thought about it at this moment, the relevant information would be immediately mastered by him. Really, Captain Carter immediately became excited. Although this was not in her original universe, in most of the universes in the multiverse, the two of them were in love with each other. But so far, it seems that the results for the two of them in every universe are not very good. He is in the floating city now, you can go directly to him, Li Qingyun said. Okay, Captain Carter agreed, and then turned to walk out of the hall. However, she had just taken a step and thought of Kahuli beside her. Sister, you don't have to worry about me, just go back to your hometown with peace of mind. Captain Carter had long known that Kahuli's hesitation was because she was afraid that she would be lonely without a companion. Now Captain Carter has made it clear that Captain America here is still a single dog, and he has a very good impression of her. In this case, she must go to find this Captain America to make up for the regret in her heart. Well, I understand, Kahuli has seen this, how could she not know what Captain Carter is thinking? It seems that you already have the answer, Li Qingyun looked at Kahuli and said. Yes, Kahuli nodded seriously. Then, I will send you back to your original world. After Li Qingyun finished speaking, he waved his right hand casually, and a space gate appeared beside Kahuli. After seeing the space gate, Kahuli did not hesitate and walked in directly. On the other side of the portal was her hometown. Her return was a great joy for the people in her hometown, because their most powerful superhero was back, and the village's patron saint could protect their safety again. The portal disappeared, and Kahuli returned to her hometown smoothly. Captain Carter was completely relieved and walked out of the hall. Did Xianxia and the others pick this guy up from the multiverse? Liu Chuang finally came to Li Qingyun at this time. Captain Carter and Kahuli were there just now, so he couldn't act too casually. Now that there were no outsiders, he returned to his usual state. Yes, Li Qingyun replied. Look at her like a lovelorn person. If she finds Rogers, it will probably take a few days for them to be in love and get married, Liu Chuang sighed. These Westerners are just like this, Li Qingyun said. But you have been dating Fang Xing for more than 10 years. Do you still want to be with her? We don't get married or live together. Every day is the same as before, Li Qingyun looked at Liu Chuang with some regret. You can't blame me. Fang Xing said I was too young and hoped I would grow up. Liu Chuang was also helpless. He was sure that he liked Angel Fang Xing more than 10 years ago, and at that time Angel Yan and Li Qingyun wanted to match them up. But after so many years, there is still no substantial progress between the two. Still young? You are almost 50, you are still young? Li Qingyun was a little angry. Compared with Fang Xing, you seem younger, Liu Chuang answered with a lack of energy. I'm almost 50 now, but Fang Xing is more than 1,000 years old, and I'm still more than 1,000 years older than her. Bullshit, Li Qingyun cursed directly. Hexie and I are still 30,000 years apart, but aren't we still together now? Li Qingyun was really amused by Liu Chuang's look. Super soldiers still talk about age? Isn't that nonsense? Theoretically, everyone's lifespan is eternal, so what's the difference of a few thousand or tens of thousands of years in the eternal years? Everyone looks like they are always in their 20s, the most beautiful age, and they will always stay like this in the future. If you want to be together, just be together. Why think so much? I'm different from you. Li Qingyun also knew that his state was a bit embarrassing, but he really didn't know how to deal with this kind of thing, so he could only follow Fang Xing's thoughts. What's different? Li Qingyun couldn't stand it anymore. I, the Lord of the Divine River, am giving you a death order today. You must capture Fang Xing for me within 1 month, otherwise I will immediately let Angel Yan introduce another boyfriend to Fang Xing. Huh? Li Qingyun was completely dumbfounded this time. Chapter 530 Xianxia's Decision. In the courtyard of the floating city, Zhao King and Xiaoyan came to the courtyard where their mother was. The two little guys went out for a walk and came back. It seems that their temperaments are a little different. Quicksilver was also in the courtyard at this moment. After all, his nephews came back, and as an uncle, he had to come and see them. That's right, we completed the task assigned by our father perfectly this time, and even fought a cosmic guy in person, Xiaoyan said with great pride. The character of this little girl has not changed at all. Wanda touched Xiaoyan's hair and teased. Mom, can you stop calling me a little girl? I'm already grown up, and you still call me a little girl, which makes me seem like a little kid, Xiaoyan said with a pout. You are not an adult yet, how can you not be a little girl? Wanda said. Besides, even if you really grow up in the future, even if you get married, you will still be a little girl in front of your mother. Wanda has always been very gentle when facing her two children. In contrast, Xianxia's mother Hila is different. Although Hila also has a residence in the floating city, she still lives in Asgard or the large Magellanic Cloud most of the time. Hila always has desires and ambitions in her heart. She wants to cultivate an extremely powerful king, a son who can be better than her husband. In order to allow her child to have a higher status and to ensure that he can reach that position at any time in the future, she needs to do her best to prepare enough resources for Xianxia. The loyalty of the many life planets in the large Magellanic Cloud and the strong people in Asgard, Hila must gather them firmly around Xianxia. After Xianxia came back this time, he immediately rushed back after learning that his mother was still in the large Magellanic Cloud. After all, he has decided to go to the multiverse again, and he doesn't know how long it will take this time, so he has to come back to be with his mother. There are still some things that need to be discussed with his mother. Mother, the moment Xianxia came out of the wormhole, Hila immediately stood up in surprise. Xianxia? You're back. Hila was not on the floating city, so she didn't know that Xianxia had returned. Yet, Xianxia nodded. I have completed the task assigned by my father, Xianxia explained. It's good that it's completed, it's good that it's completed. Hila was even more delighted to hear that Xianxia had successfully completed the task assigned by Li Qingyun. You can successfully complete the task on your first mission, so your status in the super god civilization in the future can. Mother, Xianxia spoke directly, interrupting Hila's words. Hila looked at Xianxia with some confusion. What's wrong? Xianxia rarely interrupted Hila when she was talking on weekdays, but today Xianxia did so. This abnormal behavior naturally made Hila realize that something had happened to Xianxia. Nothing. Xianxia wanted to say something, but seeing Hila's current state, he held it back. Some things are still not easy to say. You don't look like you're okay. Hila has been teaching Xianxia herself, and she knows Xianxia's situation very well. Whenever something like this happens, something is bound to happen. I plan to go to the multiverse again after a rest, Xianxia said. Go to the multiverse again? Did your father assign you another mission? Hila was a little surprised. He just came back. And now he wants to go out again. This situation is a little strange. After all, the last time Xianxia and his 3 siblings went out, they said they wanted to experience it, but they had another mission right after they came back. In the multiverse today, are there so many things that need to be handled by the super god civilization? No, I'm going out this time, Xianxia shook his head. You want to go out by yourself? Why would you go out if there's nothing wrong? The expression on Hila's face changed a little. Do you know that people can't leave the center of power for too long? If you leave without a mission, then in the future, Mother, Xianxia spoke again, interrupting Hila's words. And this time, without having to guess, Hila could be sure that Xianxia must have something on his mind. At this moment, Xianxia finally made up his mind and no longer hid his feelings. Can't you really let go of all the desires and ambitions in your heart? Xianxia said the real thoughts in his heart, and he asked a question he wanted to ask since he was a child. What do you mean? Hela's face darkened. She is the goddess of death, Hela. During the more than 1,000 years when she was sealed by Odin, she was thinking about waiting for her return to rule the world again and become the unparalleled king in the universe. But later, she met Li Qingyun, and Li Qingyun's strength made her have to be convinced. Later, she was completely conquered by Li Qingyun and was willing to become one of the closest women to him. I thought that the desires and ambitions would end here, but she later gave birth to Xianxia, a child with her own blood and Li Qingyun's powerful talents. She can let go of everything, but she hopes that her child can have all of this. In Hela's opinion, only by giving all these powers to Xianxia and only when Xianxia becomes the supreme king, can it be the best contribution to Xianxia. But now, Xianxia actually asked such a question. You want me to put down my desires and ambitions? But all these desires and ambitions of mine are for you, my child. In Hela's opinion, Xianxia must have been influenced by someone during the time she was away, so she had to guide the child back. No, I don't need you to do all this for me. Xianxia shook his head. He really didn't need Hela to think so much for him and plan so much. As the eldest son of Li Qingyun, he was the first heir to the Lord of Shen of the super god civilization, and his status was destined from birth. Moreover, they were not a dynasty of mortals, nor even a divine court like Asgard. They were in an interstellar empire where many people had eternal lifespans. Starting from Li Qingyun, the Lord of Shen, to all the super soldiers and many superheroes around him, they all had eternal lifespans in theory, so the alternation of power in those kingdoms would never happen. Hela, she has been trapped in the past and has never gotten out of it. Chapter 531, The son is more insightful than the mother. Mother, the super god civilization is a true god-level civilization, and the gods in the civilization are not like the gods in Asgard. Xianxia told her all her thoughts. Even though Hela was still in shock, she didn't react at all. Although the gods of Asgard have a long lifespan, they will eventually die, so the throne needs to be passed on and the power will be passed on, but the super god civilization doesn't need these. If Father is willing, he will always be the ruler of the super god civilization in the eternal years, even if he voluntarily gives up the position of the Lord of the Shen. Who can replace him to hold such power without sufficient strength? Although Xianxia is only 15 years old, he has already seen everything clearly. The position of the king, the supreme power, those are completely meaningless to super warriors like them. But Hela wanted to refute, but she didn't know how to refute at this moment. Back then, Li Qingyun relied on absolute power to get to where he is today. Your father, after thinking about it, it seems that the only thing that could change all this is Li Qingyun's attitude. If Li Qingyun supports Xianxia, then even if Xianxia is not that powerful, he can still become the king of the entire civilization. Because, in this super god civilization, no one will dare to disobey Li Qingyun. Father's attitude towards us brothers and sisters is always the same. He will treat you and other ants equally, Xianxia replied. No, your father is obviously the best to that Xianxia King Hexi, Hela said with some resentment. As a woman around Li Qingyun, although Li Qingyun treats them equally as much as possible when facing them on weekdays, sometimes the feeling expressed subconsciously is different. There is no clear relationship between Xianxia King Hexi and Li Qingyun. Hexi has not even been recognized as the mistress, and her current title is only one of the top 10 strong men in the super god civilization. But Li Qingyun handed over the small university Hexi to manage, which is a special space that belongs to Li Qingyun alone. In addition, there is also the upgrade technology of the universe body. There are only 2 people in the entire super god civilization who now master this technology, that is, Li Qingyun and Xianxia King Hexi. Alice, I don't care about you people's jealousy, and Father will never use these things to affect the construction and development of the entire civilization. Xianxia could only sigh helplessly. Who loves her more, who is better to Li Qingyun, etc. Xianxia now has no way to understand these things, and even if he understands, he is completely uninterested. I came back this time just to tell my mother that I have my own ideas and arrangements for my life, and power and status are not what I pursue, Xianxia said. Do you really not want to fight? Hela looked at Xianxia with some disappointment. She herself has no chance to fight anymore, and the throne of Asgard has been determined to be passed on to Thor. And now Hila has no reason or need to fight anymore. I wanted to use all the methods and abilities I could think of to help Xianxia fight, but I didn't expect that in the end, Xianxia himself didn't want to fight. Yet, Xianxia nodded seriously. I'm going to Asgard next, and I'm going to stay with my grandmother for a while, and then I'm going to the multiverse again, Xianxia said. He hoped that Hila would figure everything out, and then go back with him to live that kind of ordinary life. However, after he said the real thoughts in his heart, it must take some time for his mother to slowly accept and understand. Therefore, for this kind of thing, he can only go to Asgard by himself first, to truly feel the warm feeling of being favored. Xianxia left quickly, and Hila sat on the throne, looking at the empty hall, and couldn't recover for a long time. She was thinking about whether her past thoughts were really right, and she was wondering whether the words Xianxia just said were sincere. When she slowly figured out what the biggest difference between her son and the other two children of the same age was, she suddenly realized that she might have really treated her child badly over the years. At the moment when she suddenly woke up, Li Qingyun's figure suddenly appeared in the hall. It seems that you have finally figured it out after spending so many years, Li Qingyun sighed. Among the women around him, each one had already given up useless ideas such as power, status and ambition. Even Morgana, when she decided to leave the Super God universe, she had already given up her position as the Demon King. Only Hila, although she was the first woman to follow Li Qingyun, she still had her own ideas and ambitions and desires to pursue power. Now that Hila has finally let go of all this, Li Qingyun's heart is also one less worry. Qingyun? When did you come? Hila looked at Li Qingyun with an embarrassed expression on her face. Not long after Xianxia came here, I have been paying attention to the situation here, Li Qingyun replied. So, you heard everything I said to the child? Hila felt a little embarrassed at the moment. If there was a hole in the ground, she would have wanted to get in. Yes, I heard everything. Li Qingyun understood her thoughts, but he still had to say it. It took so many years for her to finally come to her senses, so of course Li Qingyun had to tease her. Hila lowered her head, not knowing what to say. Ha ha ha. You, the goddess of death, can be shy and embarrassed. Li Qingyun laughed. He flew forward and hugged Hila in his arms. You've been thinking about useless things all day long. Now you've let your children teach you, Li Qingyun continued to tease. I didn't think so much, it's just that I used to. It's just that the throne that you used to have at your fingertips was passed to Thor now. You clearly worked hard according to Odin's wishes, but you were exiled by Odin, so you care a lot, right? How could Li Qingyun not know what Hila was thinking? He had never said it all along, just because he didn't want to make everything too embarrassing, and wanted Hila to figure it out slowly. Don't worry, I gave the position of the Lord of Shin to Xianxia a long time ago, but Xianxia himself didn't want to inherit it yet, Li Qingyun said. Really? Hila looked at Li Qingyun excitedly. Really? So now you should be good, Chapter 532, The Cosmic Observer Cult. In the starry sky of the universe, two figures were shuttling back and forth quickly. Soon, they passed through the prism world and came to a special space independent of the universe. Sakura, Sox, do you two know what you did in the past? In this special space, there are three people at this moment, three people who are very similar to the cosmic observers, and if you don't distinguish them carefully, you can't tell them apart at all. The Cosmic Observer Group, the Supreme. These are the three beings at the top of the Cosmic Observer Cult. The power and authority they possess are also the most powerful among the cosmic observers. This, Sakura and Sox both bowed their heads at this moment. In the past few years, they have indeed done a lot of things. In the universe where the super god civilization is located, Sakura directly formed a relationship with the super god civilization that is almost like an alliance. In the multiverse, Sox has been involved in many different universes many times, and even let Captain Carter and many other superheroes enter the Prism world to shuttle through the multiverse to deal with various things. Now that the Supremas have found them, they are naturally here to ask for punishment. You have violated the oath of the Cosmic Observer and the doctrine of the cult. One of the Supremas came forward, pointed directly at the two and shouted. We didn't want to do this, but the development of the situation has completely exceeded our expectations. Some things have forced us to get involved, Sakura answered. He didn't want to get involved in the affairs of the super god civilization at the beginning, and he didn't even think about having any contact with Li Qingyun. But now, Li Qingyun has already become one of the strongest in the multiverse. He has mastered the powerful power that can be on par with the great gods like eternity. The cosmic observer has no special status in the system of the super god civilization. Socorro naturally has more contact with his civilization. If it is something you can't get involved in, you should withdraw from it directly and stop paying attention to everything in this universe, instead of staying there and continuing to entangle with them, the Supreme scolded. And you, Socks, what do you have to say? The Supreme turned to Socks on the other side. I am not really involved in the affairs between cosmic civilizations. Everything that has happened so far is the result of the intervention of the super god civilization. Socks himself was involved, but there was no need for him to say all this at this time. The most important thing is that it was Li Qingyun who solved the two multiverse crises, and he had nothing to do with it at all. The Supreme One actually understood all these situations, and it was precisely because of this understanding that they only summoned two people this time instead of directly capturing them. This time, we are just giving you a warning, but after you go back, if such a thing happens again, if someone ignores the natural development of the multiverse and actively interferes with it, we will no longer show any mercy to you. The Supreme One said that the three of them had made a unanimous decision at this time. That is, it was just a verbal warning at this time. Socorro and Socks naturally chose to agree. It's just that for things like this, the two of them had already had different ideas. When facing the problem of the universe itself, the cosmic observers have always made some mistakes in their approach. Although they were insignificant and could not change the status quo of the entire cosmic observer cult. But they really could not ignore it. After leaving the prism world of the Supreme, Socorro and Socks came to the area where Socks was at the same time. Socorro, what do you think about this? Socks asked Socorro. The multiverse itself needs to develop naturally, but the basis for development should be when there are no super special events, Socorro answered. In the past, he always maintained the same view as the Supreme Cosmic Observer, and implemented the rules of the Cosmic Observer 100%. But in the universe where the super god civilization is located, in the super god civilization, he saw many things that are very different from their original doctrines. Because of the existence of the super god civilization, the entire universe has become so harmonious, and all planets can develop naturally according to the laws of nature without any man-made destruction disasters. In addition, some practices of the super god civilization have benefited many multiverses. After the Hades god Sithin was defeated by Li Qingyun, the chaos dimension was controlled by Li Qingyun, and the erosion effect of chaos magic on the multiverse dissipated. Many multiverses were able to avoid being invaded by the Hades god Sithin, or the chaos magic eroded the minds of its owners and caused the destruction of the universe. Although the dark dimension was not controlled by Li Qingyun, the monarch of the dark dimension, Dormammu, was killed by Li Qingyun. After the dark dimension lost Dormammu, the most violent invader, the impact on the multiverse was reduced to the minimum. In addition, the recent training of Xianxia, Zhaoqing and Xiaoyan outside also saved 3 multiverses, as well as a large number of superheroes and supervillains in the multiverse. The super god civilization, a special group with the same huge technological power as their cosmic observers, is influencing the development of the entire infinite multiverse in a completely different way from the cosmic observer cult. We can't interfere in the affairs of the multiverse in the future, otherwise the Supremes will not show mercy to us. Socks sighed helplessly. Don't worry about this. If we don't take action, someone will, Sakalo said. Someone? Are you talking about the Lord of the Divine River of the Super God Civilization? The first person Socks thought of was Li Qingyun. After all, only Li Qingyun could have such a powerful force and could easily change the fate of a universe. The Lord of the Divine River is very powerful, but he is not the kind of person who likes to meddle in other people's affairs easily. He will not take the initiative to take care of the affairs of the multiverse. Sakalo shook his head. He has known Li Qingyun for so many years, and he still knows what Li Qingyun's personality is like. Who are you talking about? Sakalo became curious. Li Xianxia, Li Zhaoqing, Li Xiaoyan, Sakalo replied. Are you talking about Li Qingyun's 3 children? Sakalo immediately remembered the 3 teenagers he met in the 1640 universe. Yes, it's them. Sakalo nodded affirmatively. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 533 Thornton, I want to go with you. At this moment, Socorro and Socks both subconsciously adjusted their attention to the area where the super god civilization was located. They were looking for the location of the three young men. When they themselves had been warned by the Supreme Cosmic Observer that it was difficult to intervene in the affairs of the multiverse, they could only focus on the three young men for some disasters in the multiverse. Super God Civilization, Floating City. After a period of time, Xianxia returned here again. During this period, he spent a very happy time with his grandmother and uncles. The most important thing is that his mother, who had only thought about pushing him to the throne, finally woke up. She was no longer obsessed with making Xianxia a king or the Lord of Xin. She just spent some time with Xianxia as a mother. This way of getting along without forcing her son to make progress naturally made Xianxia relax unprecedentedly. However, perhaps it was a habit that had been developed for more than 10 years. When Xianxia should work hard to practice, he would still subconsciously practice. Hyla wanted to persuade him, but Li Qingyun told her not to worry about it. She just needed to stop intervening, and Xianxia would handle everything else. Therefore, this period of time was the most relaxing time for Xianxia in the past 10 years. Now that he was back in the floating city and staying with his two younger brothers and sisters, he became much more cheerful. Brother, where are we going this time? Xiaoyan was already a little impatient. Although staying at home was relaxing and comfortable, and he didn't have to do anything, this kind of life was the most boring for teenagers like them. Xiaoyan still missed the days when he went out with his two brothers. There is no purpose. This time we will go to the multiverse randomly, Xianxia replied. However, this time you all must remember that we have to hide our identities, and we can't collect the special energy in these universes casually like before. Xianxia said these words to warn Xiaoyan. The last time he went out, he forcibly took away all the Infinity Stones of a universe, which caused a series of events related to the Infinity Stones to fail to unfold normally, and the development of the entire universe became a mess. Moreover, Xiaoyan and Zhaoqing, and even Xianxia himself, exposed their true identities in the end, causing a serious deviation in the M716 universe. In the end, it was their father Li Qingyun who personally stepped in to solve it. Therefore, facing such a situation this time, he must remind his two younger brothers and sisters before leaving, and be careful not to make such a mistake again. Of course, this is also a reminder to Xianxia himself. Does that mean we can't participate in the events that happened in that universe this time? Zhaoqing asked. Their journey in the multiverse was originally to experience all kinds of things. If they could only watch and not do anything, it would be very boring. That's not necessary, because our father has already said that simply participating in doing what is happening now will only change the present and the future is uncertain. What we need to consider is whether the future development will lead to the destruction of the entire universe, rather than doing nothing because of fear of change. Those who just watch and do nothing are universe observers, not our super god civilization, Xianxia said. The purpose of super god civilization has always been different from that of universe observers. If there is a model in front of us, it is more like the angel civilization in the super god's universe. They will arrive in a universe, encounter some situations, and then provide help to a certain extent. That's all. That's good. Zhaoqing is not as playful as Xiaoyan, but if there is no sense of participation at all, he will still feel bored. Yes, Xianxia nodded. Then let's set off now, I can't wait, Xiaoyan said excitedly. Wait a minute, we have to take this thing. Zhaoqing took out 3 crystal balls from the dark matter plane space and placed them directly between the 3 people. This is what my father gave me. He said that this time when we go out, he doesn't have time to keep an eye on us like before, so we must all bring a crystal ball with us. When we encounter problems, we must call him first, Zhaoqing said, and then she took a crystal ball back. Xianxia and Xiaoyan did not hesitate, each took one and put it in their own dark matter plane space. Dad is really something. We are so old now, and we have another experience of going out for training. Why is he still so worried? Xiaoyan complained impatiently. A mother worries about her son when he is away from home, not to mention that the 3 of us are going directly to the infinite multiverse. It is normal for them to worry. Xianxia understood why Li Qingyun did that, because when he came back to go to the multiverse with Zhaoqing, Xiaoyan and others this time, Healer also gave him many instructions. Okay, anyway, holding a crystal ball will give me more protection. If something happens one day, It's not shameful for a daughter to ask her father for help. Although Xiaoyan complained, she had no objection to asking Li Qingyun for help. A son might have some psychological burden when asking his father for help, but a daughter didn't think it was a big deal when asking her father for help. Especially since she is still a minor, if you think about it, she should be under the protection of her parents and grow up peacefully. Everything is ready, let's go now, Xiansha said, and then he summoned a portal in the air. Hey, little guys, wait for me. Suddenly, a voice came from behind, a silly voice. The three people turned around at the same time and found that it was Thornton who was walking towards them. Uncle Thornton? Why are you here? The three siblings looked at Thornton in confusion. This was a person of the same generation as their father, and it seemed a little strange that he suddenly ran out at this time. I want to go out with you three. Thornton came straight to the point and said what he really thought. Huh? The three siblings were even more confused at this time. I'm bored to death staying in the floating city all day long, Thornton complained. I heard them say that you three are going to the multiverse, and I want to go with you, preferably to a universe with fighting, Crocodile God Thornton said, looking as silly as ever. Chapter 534 Only You Dare. The three siblings looked at Sultan at this moment, and they didn't know how to answer for a while. The three of them wanted to go out to the multiverse to walk around and see more because they were too bored staying at home. Unexpectedly, Sultan ran out before they set off. Those people who stayed behind either studied, practiced, or fell in love, but I don't like to do these things. I have nothing to do all day, especially Chuangzi. He used to compete with me from time to time and fight with me. Now he is with the angel Fangxing all day and has no time to take care of me. If I stay here, I will be bored to death sooner or later, so I want to go out for a walk. I want to go out for a walk in the multiverse with you three. Sultan looked like he was acting like a spoiled child. No matter how old he was or who he was facing, his state was as simple and innocent as always. He loved to eat meat, loved to fight, was simple and didn't like to use his brain. This, Xiansha hesitated. He also understood Sultan's personality and knew the current situation of the floating city and the super god civilization. The entire super god civilization has become extremely powerful. No one dares to provoke it, let alone make trouble. Now there is actually nothing to do in the super god civilization. Even if there is, it is some research or livelihood management. Sultan is not a scientist, and he doesn't like to manage those trivial matters, so he is naturally very bored. Brother, why don't you take Sultan with you? In the end, Xiaoyan expressed her opinion first. She was naughty and playful on weekdays, and she had a good time with Sultan. And she understood Sultan's current state very well, knowing that he was just bored. The three of them can go out to play when they are bored, but Sultan can only stay at home when he's bored. That must be a bad feeling. Yes, you have to take me with you. Sultan immediately nodded excitedly. He wanted to go out because he was too bored. Now that there is finally someone who recognizes him, he naturally has to hug his thighs. Okay, but I have to tell my father about this matter first. Xiansha saw Sultan like this, and thought that they went out for travel. Even if Thornton followed them, it would not affect them, so they simply agreed. However, Thornton was a super soldier from the previous generation, and if they wanted to take him away, they must let Li Qingyun know. I'll tell Dad, Xiaoyan said, and immediately opened the communication with Li Qingyun. On the other side of the communication, Li Qingyun noticed that it was his precious daughter who contacted him, so he immediately answered the call. What's wrong? Li Qingyun asked. Dad, we want to take Thornton with us this time, is that okay? Xiaoyan directly stated the purpose of contacting him. Take Thornton with us. Li Qingyun was a little surprised. He shifted his sight slightly, and immediately saw Thornton standing next to Xiansha and the others. Boss, it's too boring for me to stay in the floating city, so I want to go out and play with Xiansha and the others, Thornton said. You are free to do whatever you want, but you have to remember one thing, you have to listen to Xiansha after you go out, and don't do anything wrong. Li Qingyun also understood that Sultan was bored staying in the floating city these days, so he did not refuse his request. However, he also knew Sultan's character. If he went out without restraint, he didn't know what he would do. Therefore, he had to tell Sultan in advance that he had to follow Xiansha's instructions. Okay, as long as you let me go out with them, I will listen to Xiansha and them. Sultan laughed immediately. As long as he could go out and play, it didn't matter who he listened to. Xiansha, Sultan is under your control. You have to keep an eye on him and don't let him do anything wrong. Li Qingyun looked at Xianxia and said. Well, don't worry, father, Xianxia agreed. I didn't want to talk too much nonsense, but since you have connected the communication, then we will set off now. If there is nothing else, I will hang up. Xiaoyan spoke quickly and interrupted Li Qingyun's words. Moreover, she cut off the communication without hesitation. This girl, Li Qingyun looked at the cut-off communication and shook his head helplessly. On the other side, Xiaoyan saw that Li Qingyun did not call again, and felt relieved. Luckily I acted quickly, otherwise I would have to be nagged by my dad for a while. Xiaoyan breathed a sigh of relief as if he had been pardoned. Only you dare to treat your father like this, Zhao King sighed. Although he and Xianxia were also Li Qingyun's sons, Li Qingyun would not be as accommodating to them as he was to Xiaoyan. Even if Li Qingyun was not really angry about something like this, the two of them really did not dare to hang up Li Qingyun's communication so recklessly. Xiaoyan, you are still awesome. I never dare to hang up the boss's communication like this. Sultan was also full of emotion at this moment. Xiaoyan smiled. She was already accustomed to these things. Let's go, we're heading to the multiverse, Xianxia said, and then he spread his angel wings and flew towards the place where the portal was. Sultan didn't say anything, and jumped up and followed Xianxia. Zhao King and Xiaoyan also spread their wings and followed too. The three people plus a crocodile that suddenly broke in, just started another multiverse journey. And this time, Li Qingyun would no longer observe their situation anytime and anywhere like before, because this time he completely let them go and let them play by themselves. However, Li Qingyun didn't stare at them anymore, but there were two other people who were concentrating on the movements of the four of them. These two people were the universe observers Sakro and Sox. They had just been warned by the three supreme beings of the universe observers that they could no longer intervene in what happened in the multiverse. But according to their observation, many universes in the multiverse are now in very serious crisis, and some may even affect the entire universe and led to the destruction of the universe. They couldn't do anything themselves, so they set their sights on Xianxia and his three siblings. Now, another person has joined the three siblings, one of the super warriors of the super god civilization, the crocodile god Sultan. One more person is actually a good thing for the two of them, because it means one more powerful force, and they can work together to save the multiverses that have problems. The two of them watched closely, and then planned when and how to quietly convey the situation to Xianxia and his group. Chapter 535, The World of Gamma Beasts. After leaving the universe where the super god civilization was located, Xianxia, Zhao King, Xiaoyan and Sultan soon arrived at a brand new universe. The four people stood in space, overlooking the earth below. The situation in this world seems to be much worse than we expected. Xianxia immediately had his own opinion after scanning with the eye of insight. This is on Earth, but now there is a group of powerful monsters, a large group of gamma monsters. Where do those monsters come from? Xiaoyan naturally saw the situation on the Earth below, but she couldn't figure out why such a group of monsters appeared on Earth. From the energy analysis, these should all be gamma monsters, special creatures that are affected by gamma energy. It was Zhao King who analyzed the characteristics of these monsters in the first place. Gamma energy? Will it have anything to do with Hulk? Xianxia asked. I detected the existence of Hulk. He is currently on an uninhabited island, quietly recuperating his physical condition, Zhao King answered. He was the one in charge of analysis, so he would naturally investigate all the situations on Earth and then make an accurate analysis. Since there is no result in the analysis, can't we just go and ask Hulk? Thornton thought it was simple. Moreover, he had a good relationship with Hulk when he was in the super god civilization. After all, Hulk, like Thornton, was a person who was keen on fighting. When Thornton was bored on weekdays, he would go to Sacker to find Hulk from time to time, and the two of them would have a fist-to-flesh fight in the arena. Although Thornton was definitely the winner at the beginning, Hulk became stronger and stronger later, and the two of them were gradually evenly matched. However, Thornton did not use weapons during the battle, nor did he use super god technology to assist in the battle, so Thornton's actual combat power was still stronger than Hulk. Of course, if they really fought hard, it was really hard to say who would die first. After all, Hulk's characteristics were also greatly enhanced, and Hulk had stayed in the super god civilization for so long, and the people in the super god academy also matched him with many super god technology weapons. They were all people from the super god civilization, and Li Qingyun would not favor one over the other. This is a parallel universe. If we just go down and look for it, will it cause irreversible impact on the development of this universe? Xiaoyan still remembered what Li Qingyun told them. The impact will definitely occur, but the key question is whether the result of this impact is good or bad, not that we will not intervene just because it will have an impact. Xiansha understood this very well, because when Li Qingyun said it at the beginning, he was mainly talking to him. As Li Qingyun's eldest son, he has received a rigorous and serious education since childhood, and his behavior and personality are also very mature. In this case, Xiansha will naturally be more stable when dealing with these things than the other two brothers and sisters. Oh, Xiaoyan nodded, not quite understanding. So should we intervene now or not? Thornton asked directly from the side. Zhaoqing, what do you think? Xiansha did not give a direct answer, but looked at his brother beside him. Before taking action, no one can know what will happen next, Zhaoqing replied. Yet, Xiansha nodded with satisfaction. Sure enough, Zhaoqing is worthy of being his brother, and his ideas are exactly the same as his. Don't be timid when doing things. If you don't do things because you are afraid of bad effects, there will be no good results, Zhaoqing said, and his words made Xiaoyan and Thornton nod. Although Thornton didn't know what Zhaoqing meant, he at least understood one thing, that is, Xiansha and the others decided to find Hulk. Let's go to the island to find Banner. After Xiansha finished speaking, he flew directly to Banner's location. Zhaoqing, Xiaoyan and Thornton followed behind Xiansha, and the four of them soon arrived at the island where Banner was. On the island, Banner was originally quietly living the comfortable life he wanted, but at this moment, the machine next to him sounded an alarm. The content of the alarm showed that several flying objects were rapidly approaching the island where he was. Who on earth would come to me at this time? Banner raised his head in confusion, but at this moment he was still in the house and could not see the situation outside at all. Finally, after confirming that the other party was not just passing by, but was really coming towards him, and was about to land where he was, Banner came out of the house. When he walked out of the wooden house and saw 3 people and a crocodile appearing in front of the door, he was immediately shocked. Banner is also a well-informed person. After all, he is a Hulk, and most of his friends are superheroes. But especially so, the 4 in front of him are still something he has never seen before. Especially the way they are all flying in the air. The 3 teenagers all have wings, and a crocodile can stand there without any support. In this case, with his brain as a physicist, he can't figure out what's going on for the time being. Who are you? Banner asked in confusion. Xiansha, Zhaoqing, Xiaoyan, and Sultan, we are from the universe, Xiansha answered, and he only said the universe instead of the multiverse because he had detected that within the framework of this world, the superheroes on Earth did not know the existence of the multiverse. The blind spots of knowledge that the other party has not covered should not be exposed to the other party in advance, because it is very likely to cause some unknown changes in the future. From the universe? Like Thor, Banner felt at this moment that he seemed to have found a way. Well, it's somewhat related, Xiansha could only answer like this. After all, Xiansha, is still the nephew of Thor, the god of thunder. Even if he is not from this universe, he is more or less related. I see. Banner nodded as if he suddenly realized something. Since you are Thor's friend, then come in, Banner greeted and motioned the 4 people to go into the house with him. Xiansha and the others did not hesitate. After all, others were afraid of the Hulk, but they were not afraid. After all, even the enhanced version of Hulk in their universe was only at the same level as Thor. The 4 of them here did not need to be afraid of any of them. Chapter 536, Thornton the Talkative. After entering the house, Xiansha and his friends immediately noticed a small nuclear warhead hanging on a vine. That's just a dud. Banner noticed the gazes of several people and immediately explained. This is not a dud, you just sealed it temporarily. As long as the code is unlocked, it can still explode. Zhaoqing did not listen to Banner's explanation, but directly told the truth. Banner was also shocked when he heard Zhaoqing say this. Such a thing, Xiansha and his friends were so young, but they could see it at a glance. If the other party did not have a very deep research on nuclear bombs, they should have some superpowers. Why keep such a useless thing here? Thornton mocked with some disdain. Useless thing? Banner was a little shocked. This is a nuclear bomb. How could there be people in the world who say that nuclear bombs are useless? But how could he know that the 4 people in front of him were super soldiers, and the divine bodies they possessed had already made them immune to nuclear weapons? Not to mention that the 4 of them would not die in a nuclear explosion. Even if it was a supernova, it would be difficult for the other 3 of them except Thornton to die. After all, among these 4 people, 2 have divine bodies, 1 has a 4th-generation divine body with time and space genes, and the last one, the worst, is also an ultimate beast body. If a nuclear bomb really explodes, it will probably just tickle them. Well, some situations cannot be explained too clearly for the time being, Xianxia evaded. The main purpose of our coming here this time is to learn from you about the Gamma Beast. Zhao King came forward and asked a crucial question directly. Gamma Beast? Why are you asking this? Banner felt even more confused. 4 outsiders, including 3 teenagers, why are they asking about these things that happened 10 years ago? We have detected that under the ice layer of the Arctic, there is an extremely large army of Gamma Beasts hidden, and there is also a Gamma Beast with a very high energy coefficient, Zhao King explained. A huge army of Gamma Beasts. Banner was a little panicked. Others didn't know what was going on with the Gamma Beast army, but he knew it very well. It was because of his impulse that the Gamma Beasts appeared. 10 years ago, all the superheroes of the Avengers gathered all their strength to create a large number of robot fighters to defeat these Gamma Beasts. For this reason, many superheroes died in that battle. I thought everything was settled, but now you suddenly came out to tell me that these Gamma Beasts are still alive, and their number is even greater than before. Doesn't this mean that the disaster created by Banner himself is far from over? Yes, we have personally investigated it, and there will be no mistake, Xianxia answered affirmatively. According to our understanding, you are the person on Earth who is most familiar with gamma energy, so we think you should know what is going on, Zhao King asked. In fact, they already knew what happened 10 years ago, but those were just things that happened in the past recorded by the Dark Plane data, but they could not perfectly explain why the phenomenon of gamma monsters appeared. To be precise, what Zhao King and the others need to know is how those gamma beasts are produced. I don't know what the situation is. These things, escape can't solve everything, seeing that Banner wanted to cover up. Xianxia immediately interrupted him. What do you mean? Banner was more and more surprised. He suddenly realized that the 4 people in front of him were definitely not just Thor's friends who came from the universe. They seemed to have known everything for a long time. We can understand everything that happened 10 years ago, and we can even understand why you did it at that time, but what we need to know is more data about the Gamma Beasts, Xianxia said. If we can know more detailed data and more information, maybe we can find a way to solve all this. Zhao King followed Xianxia's words and added another paragraph. Can you find a way to solve the Gamma Beasts? Banner looked at the 4 people in front of him in disbelief. He has been studying gamma monsters for decades, because the Hulk in his body was originally a gamma monster. But even after decades of research, he still didn't make any progress. The only way to deal with the Gamma Beasts was to kill them, nothing more. If you know the specific situation, maybe you can. Zhao King didn't give an accurate answer. After all, the Gamma Beasts in this universe are different from the Hulk and the Super God civilization. The Super God Academy has a specific way to control the Hulk, but if the situation of the Gamma Beasts is different, Zhao King can't use the formula of the Super God Academy to deal with it. Therefore, Zhao King needs to know more detailed data, and then cooperate with the solutions developed by a group of scientists in the Super God Academy, and then make improvements to complete these operations. Are you kidding me? Banner was still very excited, but he thought about it carefully. He, a genius scientist who specializes in gamma energy and has studied it for decades without any results, can't do it. How can these 3 teenagers and a crocodile in front of him do all this? Hey, it's okay for you to underestimate this crocodile, but you can't underestimate these 3 little guys. Xianxia and the others can ignore the thoughts in Banner's mind, but Thornton read it and couldn't sit still. He came out this time entirely thanks to Xianxia and the other 3. Now they are here to help Hulk solve his problems, but Hulk's human thoughts are so ignorant that he naturally can't stand it. Can you know what I'm thinking? Banner looked at Thornton in confusion. Of course, we have the eye of insight. We can see what you're thinking at a glance, Thornton answered without thinking, so that Zhao King next to him couldn't stop him in time. Eye of insight, Banner felt very unfamiliar with this term. He was sure that he had never heard of it before, let alone come into contact with it. Is it a kind of divine power that your Proteus has exclusively? Banner looked at Xianxia and asked. Well, you can understand it this way, Xianxia nodded. He should deal with Banner himself. If he let Thornton speak, their bottom line would probably be exposed. Chapter 537, is this program considered advanced? Can you really find a way to control the Hulk? Banner no longer doubted the identities of Xianxia and the others. What he was more concerned about was whether what Xianxia and the others said before was true. Of course, we have to study it carefully before we can confirm it. This time, Xianxia interrupted Thornton before he could finish his words. There are countless variations of the Hulk in the infinite multiverse, and not every Hulk is the same. Especially the Hulk in this universe, he is obviously different from the Hulk in the super god civilization. If you still follow the routine of that Hulk, you may fail. Moreover, there is a high probability that saying this will expose their own identities. However, although Xianxia interrupted Thornton's words directly, Banner had already noticed the difference in the atmosphere at the scene. Thornton's words were almost blurted out. For such a situation to occur, it means that they must be very confident, and even more so, they should have had a successful precedent. In Banner's eyes, Xianxia's interruption should be out of caution. After all, whether it is the certainty or the precedent of success, it is all done on other people, not on Hulk. From a scientist's perspective, this rigorous rhetoric is more convincing. I understand. I can provide you with the corresponding parameters and let you deal with everything according to these situations. Banner had completely trusted the four people in front of him at this time, so he didn't keep any ideas. Banner, where are you? I have something to find you. Suddenly, a voice came from outside the house. Banner recognized who the owner of the voice was at a glance, and Xianxia and the others, relying on the ability of the Eye of Insight, could naturally read all the other parties' information at once. I have a friend coming, can you wait for a while? Banner asked very politely. Okay, do whatever you want to do yourself. Xianxia was not in a hurry. Anyway, he didn't come out to perform any mission this time, and he could deal with anything slowly. They had plenty of time. Banner saw Xianxia answer like this, and then he turned and walked out of the house. Not long after, he came back with a man, and this man was Sam. Falcon Sam of the Super God Civilization, Captain America Sam of this world. Do you guys also know about the Gamma Beast? Before Sam came in, he heard Banner say that several people in his room also knew about the Gamma Beast. Sam's purpose of coming here was to let Banner go out and help them fight the Gamma Beast as Hulk. Now that he heard that other people were also studying the Gamma Beast, and from Banner's mouth, the other party seemed to have some ways to deal with the Hulk, Sam naturally became more curious. So, the two did not stay outside for too long and came in directly. Well, when we came here, we noticed the situation of these Gamma Beasts, Xianxia answered. So, do you have any way to deal with them? If it was before, Sam would not ask such a question to the three miners. But this time, the Gamma Beast itself was too dangerous, and Banner was obviously more respectful when facing them. In this case, Sam subconsciously put away those useless ideas. He only hoped that someone could give them some ideas, so that they could have more ways to deal with those Gamma Beasts and solve the huge crisis this time. We came to Dr. Banner just to find a solution. Zhao King stepped forward and said. Oh, is that so? Sam couldn't help feeling a little disappointed when he heard Zhao King's answer. He thought hope was just around the corner, but in the end, they came to Banner like him, hoping that Banner could help him deal with it. Banner, this time we have no other choice. You can only go back and join us as Hulk. Maybe we can still have a little chance of winning. Sam looked at Banner. In their opinion, Hulk's power was still very strong. As long as Hulk was willing to go out, at least on the battlefield, he could share a lot of pressure for them. No, Hulk must not appear again. His existence itself is the biggest unsafe factor. Banner's attitude on this issue is unusually firm. But this time, when we face such a large number of Gamma Beasts, we have no chance of winning. The number of our giant mechas was not enough, and now their scale has increased, and the energy level has also increased. Sam was really desperate, otherwise he would not come to Banner. There are huge defects in the operation of your mechas. If you can change these operational loopholes, you may be able to exert a stronger power. Banner has not done nothing in the past 10 years. In fact, he has been preventing all this from the beginning, so he has been doing one thing to strengthen the defense and combat power of the human side. I have a chip here, which is written with my latest artificial intelligence program. If it is implanted in your giant mecha, it will definitely greatly improve the efficiency of your mechas, and the power that can be unleashed will be even stronger. While Banner was speaking, he walked to the table and took out a computer card. The record inside was the latest artificial intelligence system that Banner had developed in the past 10 years. A program that can enhance the operating performance and operating speed of giant mechas. Really? Sam looked at the chip and asked in disbelief. The program in this chip has been specially enhanced by me. Its running speed and efficiency are much more advanced than what you used before. With its addition, the combat power of the huge mecha can be increased by at least 50%. This program can actually increase the combat power of your mecha by 50%? Then how bad are the mechas you originally used? Xiaoyan listened to Banner's explanation and couldn't help complaining. Their super god civilization is a super civilization that has achieved the ultimate in artificial intelligence, programs and calculations. Therefore, even though Xiaoyan is only 15 years old now and is far inferior to Zhaoqing in the research of super god technology, she can still see at a glance what level the program in this chip is. However, her casual ridicule made everyone present turn their attention to her at the first time. Chapter 538 Brother, you are so talented. Sorry, I couldn't help it. Xiaoyan finally reacted at this time, knowing that he had broken the plan of Xianxia and Zhaoqing, so he could only laugh and hide his embarrassment at the moment. Alice, Xianxia shook his head helplessly. He had been staring at Sultan, but he didn't expect that Xiaoyan would take advantage of him. However, this situation is not too bad. At least they only leaked their ability to design higher-level operating programs, not their entire life experience. However, after this sentence, Banner and Sam would definitely want them to come forward to help, and if they directly gave such a new operating program, it would inevitably have an impact on the world. They haven't calculated the size of this impact, so there is no way to judge whether it is really appropriate to do so. Do you really have a more advanced operating program than this? Banner asked first, and Sam looked at Xianxia and the others with expectation. Although he heard what Xiaoyan said, he could see that these three young people, even the crocodile, were obedient to Xianxia. Among these four people, Xianxia and Zhaoqing are the two key people who can decide everything. Zhaoqing, Xianxia turned his head to look at Zhaoqing. At this time, only through Zhaoqing can he measure the specific impact and accurately understand the situation. Providing them with some higher-level operating programs may directly accelerate the development of the entire planet's technology by more than 20 years. This 20-year acceleration, under the premise of the Gamma Beasts, the overall impact should not be too great. Zhaoqing quietly and quickly calculated in his mind, and what he said at this moment was the result of his calculation. If the impact is not great, it's okay to provide it to them. Xianxia was completely relieved when he heard Zhaoqing's answer. Dr. Banner, Captain Sam, if you really need it, I can let my brother provide you with such a program, but I have to remind you in advance that even if you have this program, you may not be the opponent of those Gamma Beasts. Xianxia is not as proficient in super god technology as Zhaoqing, but he also has a deep understanding of technology. A powerful operating program can greatly improve the combat efficiency of the mecha, but if the level of the mecha itself is not high, even if there is a good operating program, the effect that can be exerted will be insufficient. I understand that the state of the machine itself has determined our upper limit, but the state of those Gamma Beasts is different. They have extremely strong power and far exceed us in number. It will be very difficult for our mecha army to fight against them. Sam is not the kind of person who does not understand things. Although the other party can provide him with more advanced operating programs, these programs only enhance the operating efficiency and output power of the mecha itself, but all the specifics are still determined by the original attributes of their mecha. You originally only have a combat power of 100. Even if the other party doubles your combat power to 200, you can't play 300 power. This is the law. Then, Zhaoqing, go prepare and make the chip for him. Xianxia turned his head and looked at Zhaoqing and said. Okay, Zhaoqing agreed, and then turned and walked directly to the table. He wanted to use those tools used by Banner and those equipment to make new chips. In order to reduce the impact on the world itself, the most advanced chips can be made with existing technology. If the impact is not considered, Zhaoqing can take out some dark iron elements or even void matter from his dark matter plane space to make chips. By then, these mechas equipped with dark iron elements or even void matter chips will not simply increase their power by a certain percentage, but by a certain number of times. Especially the void matter chips, One chip is enough to make this mecha a void-level mecha. At that time, a void definition will cause the damage to the Gamma Beast to explode directly. The most important thing is that the impact of the void-level chip will be extremely huge. Maybe the entire universe will bring about a new industrial revolution, which will lead to the entire civilization entering a new era. Sam and Banner saw Zhaoking start to create a new operating procedure, and they couldn't help but get excited. Especially Banner, he came over directly and observed carefully behind Zhaoking. Your production method is so unique. This craft and technology are totally unlike those of this era. Banner is an expert after all. He only needs to take a look to know how advanced Zhaoking's technology is. But the more he can understand, the more shocked he is by Zhaoking's ability. A boy who looks only 15 years old has mastered more advanced technology than him, who has lived for decades and is known as a genius scientist. Especially the proficiency of writing codes, which is simply incredible. But he didn't know that Zhaoking chose to input manually in order to avoid exposing more of his abilities. Otherwise, what he saw at this moment would be Zhaoking suddenly rolling his eyes, and then the chip was made. By the way, what are your names and where are you from? Sam didn't know much about these technologies, but he was very curious about who these three boys and the crocodile were. We just came from the universe and passed by here by chance. As for our names, my name is Xiansha, Xiansha answered. Xiansha? What a strange name. Sam repeated Xiansha's name, and felt very strange about it. In my hometown, there is a very powerful sword called the Sword of Xiansha. Our king once used this sword to unify the empire and forged an extremely powerful empire, so my mother gave me this name, Xiansha answered, and Xiaoyan, who was standing next to him, looked over in shock when she heard this. She found that what her eldest brother said was completely nonsense, but the problem is that from the perspective of an observer, it makes sense. Li Qingyun did hold the Sword of Xiansha and created the current super god civilization, and Antila gave her eldest brother this name because of the Sword of Xiansha. But if you say that this civilization is a super civilization that almost rules the entire universe, and the person who created the civilization is the god of chaos who is comparable to the 5 great gods, and the god of chaos is your father, then see if Sam can still not so easily at this time. Chapter 539. They are not simple. Okay, this is the latest control system. Zhaoking suddenly stood up. The program for the mecha control system he needed to develop and manufacture had been completely written and successfully recorded into the chip. So fast, Sam turned around immediately and looked at Zhaoking in shock. Banner's chip took him 10 years to make. Although what Zhaoking was going to provide at this moment had already existed, such a complex and huge control system was actually programmed and recorded in just a few minutes. How talented must Zhaoking be to do this? The program is already in my mind. I just moved it out directly. Zhaoking made up a random excuse, and the effect of this excuse was just like when Xiansha introduced his name. It was impeccable. Big brother, second brother, you two are so cunning. Xiaoyan complained directly to Xiansha and Zhaoking through the secret communication. You guys usually say I'm a clever, cunning guy, but when I see you like this today, you're the real slippery loach. Okay, Xiaoyan's cleverness and cunningness are usually just tricks and tricks, but today Xiansha and Zhaoking really made their words perfect and flawless. They were obviously telling the truth, but they didn't reveal any information. This is a response, Zhaoking replied, but Xiansha didn't say anything. They don't like to do such clever things on weekdays because there is no need for it. But now they do it because they need it. With this program, can the mecha really exert a stronger combat power? Sam looked at the chip in his hand and hesitated to ask the last question. At least in terms of combat performance, it will be twice as strong as the program you used before, Zhaoking explained. Twice as strong? Sam knew very well how powerful the mechas they made were. If they were twice as powerful in that situation, there would definitely not be such a large number of casualties in their battle 10 years ago. But now, even if they were twice as powerful, facing such a large number of gamma beasts in this situation, it would be difficult to win. Brother, do you want to provide them with a weapon? Xiaoyan asked Xiansha in the dark communication channel. No, Xiansha refused directly. With Zhaoking's calculation program and the size of the mecha itself, if there is another powerful weapon, the combat effectiveness of these mechas will not only be increased by a simple doubling. An auxiliary operation program will only make the technological level of the mecha advance by 20 years, and a weapon provided by them is the existence that can rewrite the situation of the war. You know, The weapons used by the three brothers and sisters are at best flame-level weapons, and the actual power of flame-level weapons is more powerful than nuclear bombs. A mecha holding a nuclear-level weapon, although the Gamma Beast is very strong, it is difficult to be effective in this situation. In the future, when they encounter other enemies, they can use this weapon as a basis to play a greater role. A weapon can change more than just the level of technology, but it can also be a powerful artifact that can overturn a civilization. Okay, what should we do next? We can't just watch and do nothing, right? Xiaoyan asked. They have already arrived here and know that the world is facing such a major event. It would be boring if they do nothing. Let's watch first and see how they perform, and then we can decide what to do next. Xianxia and his friends want to come out to experience all kinds of things, but this does not mean that they have to mindlessly get involved in everything they see and force a fight. For these super soldiers, experience is the most important thing, and combat experience is not that important. The Gamma Behemoth Legion is expected to take action soon. I have to rush back to prepare in advance. Sam put the chip away. His purpose was actually to go back and see if there was enough time to copy a few more copies. After all, he has more than one mecha. The operating program in this chip can enhance the combat effectiveness of the mecha, so there must be more than one enhancement. Therefore, if we can go back and replace all the mechas, the effect will definitely be better and the effect will be greater. Well, go ahead, Banner nodded. He originally had no intention of going out to fight as the Hulk. Now that Sam has obtained the enhanced control program to go back and enhance the combat efficiency, if they can solve all the troubles themselves, he will not have to worry about these problems. Sam understood Banner's intentions and knew that time was running out, so he did not stay any longer. He turned around and walked out of the cabin with the chip, then took his own plane and returned to the base of the Avengers. He told the other superheroes what he had experienced with Banner, and took out the chip so that Ironheart could try to copy it. Ironheart put the chip on the computer and displayed the programs, and then, when she saw the program code, she was dumbfounded. Because he found that these codes were not very complicated, but extremely simple. However, if these simple code arrangements were implemented seriously, the effects they produced were more powerful than all the control programs they had written in the past. This program was really written by a 15-year-old boy in less than 10 minutes. Ironheart looked at Sam in shock. She was a new member of the Avengers, and she took over the position of Iron Man. Her position was a genius mechanical expert and intelligence expert. But now, the effect of this program was something she would never dare to think of in her life, let alone really design it. Really, and the other party has 3 such young people. From my feeling, each of them is not simple. Sam knew where Ironheart's shock came from at this moment, because he himself was actually the same shock. If those 3 teenagers could also join their Avengers and protect the world with them, then they would definitely be able to protect the world well, instead of being a mess like it is now. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 540, The Gamma Beast Army Attacks. Xianxia and others didn't care about the shock of Sam and Ironheart. After Sam left, Xianxia and Zhaoqing came to Banner again. Sam's matter has been dealt with, but we haven't figured out your situation. Zhaoqing said that the purpose of their coming here in the first place was for Banner. Now that they have dealt with Sam's emergency, they naturally have to put their attention back on Banner. I believe in your ability. If you want my data, I can tell you everything I know, and I can also provide you with my blood. Banner didn't care about their suggestions because he didn't trust the abilities of these 3 people. But now, with Sam's matter here, he has clearly realized that Xianxia and his people are special. Then let's get started. Zhaoqing saw that Banner had agreed to cooperate, and didn't waste any more time. In the following time, they began to learn everything from Banner, and also got Banner's blood, and began to analyze all the situations related to Hulk. As long as there is complete data, by comparing it with the Hulk data of the Super God Civilization universe recorded in the Super God Academy, a way to deal with it can be found quickly. However, while their research was still in progress, the disaster had already begun to erupt on the coast of the North American continent. A large number of green gamma beasts began to emerge from the sea. Led by the top beasts, they were marching towards the city in a mighty manner. In the process of advancing, They destroyed everything indiscriminately. From the moment these gamma beasts were born, they were living for the purpose of destruction. What they wanted to do was to destroy the entire world. Now they have spent 10 years accumulating enough power. The purpose of coming out this time is to solve all the troubles at once and destroy all humans and everything created by humans. Everyone, set off immediately. In the base of the Avengers, Sam came down directly to all the superheroes who are still alive. But the combat program has not been copied yet. Ironheart has been copying the operating program from the beginning, but only a few hours have passed, and she has not had time to complete the copying process of the operating program. There is no time left. If we don't take action, all the cities on the coastline will suffer a devastating disaster. Just give me another hour and I can finish it all, Ironheart reminded. Every minute of delay will result in countless casualties. Sam now took over the position of the former Captain America. He even thought in the same way as the former Captain America, Steve Rogers. Obviously, from a rational point of view, only by completing the replication and adding new operating procedures to all mechas can we exert stronger combat power and have a greater chance of winning. But Sam just couldn't sit back and watch so many people die. Okay, I'll get ready now. Ironheart didn't know what to say when Sam answered like this. As superheroes and Avengers, they were supposed to protect civilians and the safety of the world. Soon, all the mechas were ready. Under the leadership of Sam, they flew out of the Avengers base and flew towards the coastline. In the past, the number of superheroes reached 20 to 30. But now, there are only 6 or 7 superheroes left. There are only 6 or 7 mechas in total, and what they have to face is a real army of gamma beasts. When they arrived, they were all stunned when they saw the gamma beasts that spread across the entire coastline. This scale is many times larger than the one 10 years ago, and the energy level of these gamma beasts seems to have been strengthened. In contrast, the number of superheroes on their Avengers side is more than half less than that of the last war. It is really a case of one side gaining while the other side loses. The resistance is getting weaker and weaker, while the scale of the enemy is getting stronger and stronger. Everyone, do everything we can to protect this city, Sam said to every superhero through the broadcasting system. Then, he rushed out first and attacked the gamma beast that rushed to the front. Behind Sam were several other superheroes. They drove mechas like Gundam and rushed into the group of gamma beasts and launched a fierce attack on those gamma beasts. The battle was about to start. On the isolated island where Banner was, Xianxia, Zhaoqing, Xiaoyan and others had received the situation from the front. They had observed everything that was happening on the North American coastline. The battle has begun. Judging from the scale, the Avengers have no chance of winning, Xianxia said, and his words made Banner silent. All of this happened because of him. If humans really can't survive this crisis, then he must fulfill his duties even if he has to sacrifice his life. My analysis will take time, Zhaoqing replied. Then you stay here first. We have to go to the battlefield and observe the situation first, Xianxia said. Yet, Zhaoqing nodded, then he turned around and continued his data analysis. He was trying to find a way to perfectly solve the turmoil caused by Hulk in this world. Let's go, Xianxia turned and looked at Xiaoyan and Thornton. Going to fight, huh? Hey, my axe has been thirsty for a long time. Thornton was very excited at this moment. The reason why he had to follow Xianxia and the other 3 out was to find someone to fight, and this time, being able to fight so many gamma monsters similar to Hulk at once was exactly what he wanted to do most. Whether you want to join the battle or not, you have to listen to me at that time, otherwise I will contact my father immediately to send you back, Xianxia reminded. Thornton was very excited just now, but when he heard what Xianxia said, he was dumbfounded. Think carefully, this meal is full or every meal is full, which one do you want to choose? Xiaoyan asked softly beside Thornton. Then I will definitely choose every meal is full, Thornton answered without thinking. Then I will listen to you at that time. You let me do it and I will do it. Is that all right? Thornton said. He didn't want to miss the opportunity to continue to follow Xianxia and the others in the universe just because he had a good fight this time. Chapter 541, Powerful Support of Operating Procedures. Xianxia, Xiaoyan and Sultan soon arrived above the battlefield. They hid their bodies and quietly looked down at everything happening below. The gamma beasts were very large, even the small ones were dozens of meters high. In this case, just relying on their size, many conventional firepowers lost their effectiveness. In addition, These gamma beasts were born under the influence of gamma energy, which made their body genes and skin immune to attacks such as thermonuclear radiation. In this case, the conventional weapons used by ordinary armies were completely useless. Therefore, these powerful mechas built by superheroes are needed to fight, and only they can compete with those gamma beasts. However, even if these huge mechas can compete with the gamma beasts, there is a huge gap between the number of them. There are too many gamma beasts. Although these mechas are not weak, they can't withstand the attack of such a large-scale gamma beasts. Xiaoyan looked at the battle between the mechas and the gamma beasts, and knew the result of the battle. Moreover, the movements of these mechas look very clumsy. Except for the one driven by Sam, the others should not be equipped with a mecha operating program developed by my second brother for them. What are these people thinking? They know they can't win. Since there are programs that can enhance their own combat power, why don't they install them all on the mechas and then drive them out? Xiaoyan complained. She couldn't understand why the Avengers in this world would do such a stupid thing. This is a sense of mission and also a manifestation of emotion, Xianxia replied. In the pre-nuclear civilization era, human thinking is more emotional than rational. If we judge rationally, we must completely copy the control program, equip it to each mecha, and then go out to fight. But if we judge purely by emotion, then when we know that humans are being invaded, we should stand up and protect people as soon as possible. But in fact, in the Eastern countries, they have a more perfect solution. That is the coexistence of emotion and reason. If this matter were placed in the Eastern great power, the real approach should be to have a fearless army. Even if they know that there is no way to compete, they will delay the invasion of the gamma beasts at all costs. Then, all the mechas will continue to stay in the base, and after the upgrade is completed, they will fight these gamma beasts to the death with the determination and courage of all the sacrifices. In the Super Seminary, there is a brand new plan for this kind of thing, but we can't judge other people's battles purely from the God's perspective. Xianxia said this to persuade Xiaoyan. Their origins and the abilities they have prevented them from facing the difficult choices that superheroes like Sam need to make at the beginning. They can see further and know when to make what choice is the best for the whole incident. There are many people, especially those with Western thinking, who often consider only what they see in front of them. That one over there should be the mecha equipped with the operating program developed by Zhao King, right? Thornton pointed to the mecha with a pattern like the stars and stripes below. Yes, that is Captain America's mecha, that is, Sam's mecha, Xianxia nodded and said. In this world, Roger Steve has already died, even Iron Man and many other superheroes have died. And now Sam has inherited the title of Captain America. He is in a very good fighting state, Thornton said, and at this moment, the three of them all set their eyes on the mecha controlled by Sam. At this moment, Sam's mecha is quickly shuttling among the gamma beasts. It holds a shield in its left hand and continuously shoots lasers with its right hand. It is flexible and its attacking moves are much smoother than other mechas. It looks like an ordinary person's movements when fighting with others. When other mechas fought with gamma beasts, they couldn't defeat one even with all their strength, but Sam's mecha has defeated several in succession. The effect of this operating program is so powerful. Sam is operating the machine at the moment, and is also shocked by the operating field in front of him. This operating program is so powerful. If it is fully equipped on all mechas, the overall combat effectiveness will be greatly improved. Ironheart's voice came. She was already regretting why she didn't insist a little longer and let Sam allow her to complete the entire copying program. If they could really do that, maybe they could successfully stop all the gamma beasts. At least they wouldn't have to go through the same difficult steps as they are now. I was wrong. I was too impatient. Sam knew that he was wrong this time. He thought that even if this program was strengthened, the effect of the strengthening would not be too great, and it should not have a big change on the occupation. But now it seems that if all the mechas are really transformed, then maybe they can really reverse the entire occupation. Almost when Sam was regretting his previous decision, a huge explosion was heard. A mecha, which was under siege by two gamma beasts, was completely destroyed and exploded. Another of their already few comrades fell. There is no regret medicine in this world. Now that you have made a decision, you must continue to stick to it no matter what situation you are facing, instead of regretting it here. Xianxia's voice suddenly came in. Just when Sam was extremely regretful. Who is it? Sam suddenly heard this voice, and immediately turned around in shock, looking around. Here, Xiaoyan's slightly naughty voice came, and then Sam turned around and saw two winged boys appearing in front of him. At the same time, Ironheart also appeared there at this time. She was being held by Xiaoyan's hand and suspended in the air. The mecha that was just destroyed by the Gamma Beast was Ironheart's, and she was in such a situation because she was distracted just now. Because of her lack of concentration, she was knocked down by the two Gamma Beasts, and then she never got up again. Fortunately, Xiansha and Xiaoyan were here, using the micro-wormhole ability to transfer Ironheart out of the mecha at the moment of the explosion. Otherwise, Ironheart would have been a dead body now. Chapter 542. You make us embarrassed. You guys, Sam was also very shocked to see that it was Xiansha and his team. Especially when he saw that they had grown a pair of wings on their backs and were floating in the air. I wanted to see how far you could go with the operating program provided by my second brother, but I didn't expect that you would rush out to fight without waiting for it to be completely copied and uploaded to all the other mechas. Xiansha's tone at this moment was obviously filled with a sigh. Although Sam inherited Captain America's courage and a heart to protect others, he was really brave but not wise, and lacked sufficient reason. Hey! What does that crocodile want to do? Suddenly, Ironheart, who was caught by Xiaoyan, asked loudly. Hearing her words, Xiansha and Xiaoyan turned around immediately. Then they saw that on the battlefield, Thornton was running quickly and rushing towards a huge Gamma Beast. His 2-meter height was like an ant in front of this Gamma Beast that was more than 40 meters tall. But his charging posture and running speed seemed to show that he totally looked down on those Gamma Beasts. He's just going to deal with those Gamma Beasts like this. Sam looked at Xiansha in shock. Well, that's fine, Xiansha just nodded casually. But, Sam was about to say something, but the next moment, he saw a scene that shocked him. He saw that Satan, who was rushing towards the Gamma Beast, suddenly jumped up and chopped hard with a double axis in his hands. The next moment, a Gamma Beast that was dozens of meters tall was actually chopped in half by this axe. In the eyes of the Gamma Beast, the axe, which was as small as 2 fingernails, actually chopped the entire Gamma Beast in an instant, completely ignoring the hard skin of the Gamma Beast and its huge body. Thornton, you have no moral principles and you actually launched a sneak attack. Xiaoyan saw what Thornton was doing at the moment, but she didn't feel anything wrong, but was a little unhappy. Because they had agreed to fight together and have a good time together. But now, while she was still here saving people, Thornton actually went to fight first. You go too. Xiansha saw Xiaoyan's thoughts and immediately gave Xiaoyan a special pardon. When Xiaoyan heard this, she immediately threw the iron heart in her hand to Sam. You take it, I'm leaving. After saying that, she flapped her wings behind her and flew out directly. After she flew out, a pair of huge silver steel wings appeared behind her. The steel wings condensed in the air and gradually transformed into 2 silver swords, and then stabbed towards the 2 Gamma Beasts closest to Xiaoyan. Then, another scene that shocked Sam and other superheroes appeared. The 2 huge Gamma Beasts were pierced by the 2 silver swords, and their bodies fell straight backwards. A crocodile and a girl, without relying on a huge mecha, rushed up to attack, and killed 3 Gamma Beasts with one move. This record is even stronger than the effect produced by Sam's control of the mecha just now. Xiaoyan, you are cheating. Thornton was jumping on the shoulder of a Gamma Beast at this moment, and then he swung his hand and chopped off the head of the Gamma Beast with an axe. It was obviously you who attacked first without martial ethics. Why are you accusing me of cheating now? Xiaoyan questioned Thornton in turn. I just used an axe, but you used the silver wing, and yours is the most powerful god-killing weapon. My weapon is too different from yours. Thornton did not refute the fact that he had just attacked the Gamma Beast first. But he really felt that Xiaoyan was too bullying to use Keisha's silver wings. Although the double axes in Thornton's hand were also made by Li Qingyun and the people of the Super God Academy, they were the real dark silver killing weapons. But the gap between the double axes and the silver wings was still too big. He only relied on swinging the axes to attack, while Xiaoyan directly used the silver wings to shoot. How could Thornton kill faster than Xiaoyan? Okay, I won't use the silver wings, okay. Xiaoyan didn't argue with Thornton. This was originally for fun. If it was not fair, it would be meaningless even if she won Thornton. She waved her hand casually, and the silver wings that turned into a silver sword returned to their original appearance and disappeared. Then, a dark silver longsword appeared in Xiaoyan's hand. Why don't they use powerful weapons? Ironheart was standing on the shoulder of Sam's mecha at this moment, looking at Xiansha not far ahead and asking. Because whether you use it or not, the result is the same. Qianxia replied. Huh? Ironheart was a little confused, and so were Sam and the Mecha, and all the Avengers superheroes around. They tried every possible way to strengthen their weapons, and even exhausted their resources to build these large mechas. Despite this, they still seemed very strenuous when facing the Gamma Beasts, and they didn't even know how long it would take to kill a Gamma Beast when they fought. Now, a little girl without a mecha, who obviously had a weapon that could kill with one blow, just threw it away. How embarrassing it was for these superheroes who claimed to be the guardians of peace on Earth. Thornton, let's see who killed more this time, Xiaoyan said, and rushed directly to the next Gamma Beast. Seeing Xiaoyan like this, Thornton didn't stay any longer, and suddenly jumped up, and then swung the axe in his hand towards the Gamma Beast. The axe hit the ankle of the Gamma Beast, and then its body lost balance and fell down. After it fell, Thornton jumped down from the shoulder of the Gamma Beast whose head he had chopped off, and aimed the remaining axe in his hand directly at the neck of the Gamma Beast and chopped it down. Clang! Thornton landed on the neck of the Gamma Beast, just like an ant landing on a person's neck, but when he fell, a flash of white light flashed, and it was a real knife that cut off the head of the Gamma Beast directly. Every time he attacked, he was so small and used an even smaller weapon, but he could burst out an extremely strong attack and kill the Gamma Beast with one blow. Xiaoyan on the other side, her combat effect was similar. Every time she attacked, she would directly take the life of the Gamma Beast with one move. Moreover, compared to Thornton who kept jumping between the Gamma Beasts to attack, Xiaoyan relied on her wings to fly faster. Chapter 543 The Third Plan. On the coastline, Xiaoyan and Thornton were happily attacking the Gamma Beasts. Zhao King was on the island at this time, and the analysis and research on Hulk's genes had also come to an end. How is it? Have you found a way to solve this crisis? Banner was already impatient. This was the only time in so many years that he had the opportunity to solve his own problem. The method has been found, and there is more than one. Zhao King stopped. The results of his analysis were completely out. What? More than one? Banner was shocked. He had not been able to find any solution for decades. This teenager had only studied for such a short time and found more than one solution? I'm not just talking about your business, but the solution for the entire Gamma Beast army, Zhao King said. Oh, Banner was stunned for a moment, but he soon realized that this matter should indeed be based on solving the Gamma Beast army as the first priority. After all, Banner, was just one person, and the danger of the Gamma Beast army threatened the entire Earth. There are 3 solutions to the Gamma Beasts. Zhao King did not continue to talk about Banner, but began to talk about the solutions to the Gamma Beasts. The first solution is for the 3 of us and Thornton to directly eliminate all the Gamma Beasts. This is the simplest and most direct way, Zhao King said, and he spoke as if he could really do it without much effort, which surprised Banner. I knew that these 3 teenagers and the crocodile were not simple, but I never thought that they could reach such a level. The second solution is that I will eliminate the genes of all the Gamma Beasts based on the genes I have studied in you, including the Hulk gene in your body, which will disappear at the same time. After that, there will be no Gamma Beasts or Hulks on the Earth. This is a good solution, Banner immediately responded when he heard Zhao King say the second solution. Listen to me first, and then decide. Since Zhao King has mentioned 3 solutions, naturally all 3 solutions have their pros and cons. The first plan allows Xiaoyan and Sultan to have a good time, and the second plan fulfills Banner's long-cherished wish. But in addition to these 2 plans, there is a third plan, which Zhao King thinks is the most suitable plan for this planet. So, what is this third plan? Banner also reacted at this moment. He knew that this third plan must be very special. According to my understanding, the genes of those Gamma Beasts are basically the same as your genes, and they all come from your body. So, if you can show enough strength to defeat the top beasts in the Gamma Beast army, then you can directly command all other top beasts. You mean, let me defeat the top beasts and then become the ruler of all Gamma Beasts? Banner heard this. How could he not understand Zhao King's meaning? Gamma Beasts are very dangerous, but at the same time, they are also an extremely powerful force. If these Gamma Beasts can be effectively controlled, then they can become the most powerful force to protect the Earth in the future. All of these superheroes know that Earth is not the only place with humans in the universe, and there are also some guys in the universe who are in the Earth and want to destroy or invade it. The Avengers were established to fight against the invasion of alien civilizations and to protect this planet. Now the Avengers have been seriously injured because of a war 10 years ago, and there are only a few people left. In this case, if such a powerful Gamma Beast army can be mastered, it will undoubtedly be a good thing for the Earth, and it can become a major guarantee for the safety of the Earth. But if I really do that, I'm afraid I won't be able to return to my human form in this life, right? Banner is not stupid. If he wants to defeat the Gamma Beast, he must become a Gamma Beast, and he must be a Top Beast, so that he can defeat the original Top Beast and then lead the other Gamma Beasts. Besides, after I become the Hulk, I will lose my mind. I am afraid that when there is no Top Beast, I will become the new Top Beast, which will also bring disaster to the Earth. Banner has always tried every means to return to normal. Isn't it because the existence of Hulk will become an unstable factor on the Earth? If he becomes a Top Beast now, then he will still be the same as the previous Hulk. I have a way to keep your original sanity after becoming a Top Beast, Zhao King said, and his words made Banner silent immediately. If it is just like the previous one, he doesn't have to think about it at all, and the second option is the best. All the Gamma Beasts, including the Hulk in Banner's body, disappeared. Banner can live as an ordinary person in Dr. Banner in the future. But now, Zhao King has solved the most important problem, that is, after he becomes a Top Beast, he can still retain his existing consciousness. Having the existing consciousness means that the entire Gamma Legion army can be fully commanded as a force to protect the Earth. This third option is only for Banner. It is to let him make the final choice between becoming an ordinary person or a monster. Banner was lost in thought at this moment. He thought about many things in his mind. He thought of the Avengers superheroes who died 10 years ago because of the invasion of the Gamma Beast Legion. It can be said that the Earth is like this now because of Banner's impulse at the time. He weakened the Earth's defense and failed many superheroes. Now there is an opportunity to protect the entire Earth very well, but he has to miss it because of his own selfishness. As a responsible superhero, he can't be so selfish, and he's even more unwilling to fail his former superhero companions. I've decided. Banner stood up and looked at Zhao King with a firm look. Zhao King smiled at this moment. He was very satisfied with Banner's choice, and he was actually reading all the ideas that Banner had in his mind before. Chapter 544, The New King of the Gamma Beasts. Half an hour later, above the battlefield on the North American coastline, Zhao King was dragging an extremely huge green monster and flying from a distance. This scene made everyone who was watching on the battlefield widen their eyes in shock. Brother, what is the second brother doing? Xiaoyan also forgot about the competition with Sutan at this moment. She flew into the air and looked at Zhao King and the Gamma monster who were flying quickly at the moment, and asked with confusion. Your second brother is choosing the most qualified guardian for the Earth in this world. Xiansha looked at this scene at this time and smiled with satisfaction. Only he knew why Zhao King did this, because only he knew best what Zhao King's ability was. What made Banner become a top monster, and he could only live as a top monster for the rest of his life. This was definitely what Zhao King said specifically to test Banner. With the science and technology mastered by their super god civilization, they can easily solve all problems related to genes, and although Zhao King is only 15 years old, his mastery of super god technology has reached a very high level. Moreover, Banner's situation was based on the research of Hulk's genes in the super god civilization recorded in the Super God Academy from the beginning. Zhao King would definitely be more relaxed in carrying it out. Guardian, Xiaoyan was still a little confused, but she was not stupid. She had already heard that all this must have been done deliberately by Zhao King, as if to test Banner. Thornton, come back. We don't need you in the future battles. Xiansha understood Zhao King's intentions and naturally would not let Thornton slaughter those Gamma Beasts again. After all, in just half an hour, Thornton and Xiaoyan had slaughtered hundreds of Gamma Beasts. If the number of these Gamma Beasts was not large enough, they would have been killed now. If Thornton continued to continue, then even if Zhao King's plan was successful, Banner really defeated the Top Beast and became the leader of the new Gamma Beast army, and he would no longer have any men to use. Boom. Zhao King let go of the Gamma Top Beast that Banner had transformed into and let him land directly on the battlefield. After he landed, he immediately locked onto the original Gamma Beast leader. Roar. With a roar, Banner rushed towards the Gamma Beast leader. The two Top Beasts, which were 100 meters tall, collided fiercely on the ruins. Then, a fierce battle began. This Banner seems to have the same temperament as Hulk. Xiansha looked at Zhao King, who had come to him at this time, and asked directly. I retained the crazy and belligerent mood of Hulk in the beast state. Only in this way can Banner show the real powerful fighting power of the Top East in the battle, instead of a scientific doctor who doesn't know how to fight at all, Zhao King explained. I think it's not just because of this. Xianxia could see clearly that the Top East in front of him completely retained Banner's thinking logic and rationality. Because he was very angry, Zhao King smiled. He didn't tell Banner that he could turn back into an ordinary person again. In other words, at this moment, Banner felt that he could only live like this in his life, and he would only be a huge, ugly green monster for his whole life. And the result of all this was because of the appearance of this top monster in front of him. In such a situation, how could Banner not be angry? Since he was angry, he would naturally be very violent when he attacked. Because Banner wanted to vent all his resentment, he wanted to teach this hateful top monster in front of him a lesson. So, a violent battle broke out on the ruins, and the two huge top monsters kept colliding and tearing each other. The battle lasted for nearly half an hour. It was not easy for the huge bodies of the two top monsters to break through the defense, and both of them had the manic and violent genes of Hulk, so even if they were seriously injured or hit hard during the battle, they would still rush up desperately. Therefore, to determine the winner between them was to determine life and death. While they were fighting, the other Gamma Beasts were quiet. They all stood in place, watching the fight between the two top beasts. Their genes determined that the two top beasts in front of them would be their kings, but there could only be one king, so they needed to wait quietly for the new king to emerge, and then do things according to the king's orders. Finally, as the top beast transformed by Banner suddenly spit out a gamma ray burst, the head of the original Gamma Beast leader was directly smashed, and the battle came to an end. The top beast transformed by Banner finally won a complete victory in this tough fight. He raised his head and roared at the sky, and then all the Gamma Beasts also learned from him, raised their heads and roared at the sky. The roar was earth-shaking. When the roar subsided, Banner's top beast turned around, walked out of the encirclement of all the Gamma Beasts, came to Xianxia and others, and also came to the huge mecha that Sam was riding. Xianxia and the others looked at the top beasts in front of them and just nodded with a smile. But behind them, Sam drove the mecha forward, opened the cabin on the head, and walked out. Sam didn't know what was happening to Banner now. He only knew that when Satan and Xiaoyan were fighting, killing each other heartily, Zhao King suddenly came with another top beast. Then, a decisive battle broke out between the two top beasts, and then the newest one defeated the old one and became the king of all other Gamma Beasts. Sam, the top beast, spoke. It was Banner's voice, but it was many times louder than usual. Banner, how could you? Sam was a little unbelievable. He didn't expect that Banner would end up like this. These teenagers are very strong. They can kill all the Gamma Beasts. Why do you have to become like this? Sam was very sad, and he also deeply blamed himself for his previous resentment towards Banner. They can solve this crisis, but the Earth has lost too many superheroes. This world needs another stronger force to provide protection, Banner replied, and his words made Sam truly understand why Banner chose to come here in this appearance. Chapter 545 The Most Powerful Force in the Universe. With the latest control program given by the boy, the power of the battle mecha can be greatly improved. This is my own choice, Banner interrupted Sam's words. 10 years ago, so many superheroes died because of me. Now that I have encountered all this, I have to get rid of all the suffering and live an ordinary life as I wish. It's too unfair to my former companions. Banner had the opportunity to choose how to live in the future. But he finally made such a choice because he knew that only in this way could he not feel so indebted in his heart. Everyone knows that you can't help it. You didn't do it deliberately. Everyone will forgive you. Sam already understood Banner's thoughts, but there was really no need to do so much for some past confessions. The guilt is in my heart, not your opinion of me, Banner said. It's good now, Banner said again. I can stay rational and don't have to worry about bringing disaster to the world. And I can also lead such a powerful army of Gamma Beasts and become the strongest guardian of the Earth. From now on, the Earth will be safer than ever before. What Banner said at this moment was the most real thought in his heart. In order to bring the safest protection to the world, he is willing to sacrifice everything else. Ha ha ha! Suddenly, a hearty laugh came. The superheroes such as Banner and Sam, who were still in grief, all turned their heads and looked over. The ones who were laughing were Xianxia and Zhao King. Xiaoyan and Suotan were also watching all this with a smile on their faces. What are you doing? Banner and Sam were looking at Xianxia and the others. The two suddenly had a feeling that everything seemed to be specially designed by these people. You don't understand yet, do you? Xiaoyan flew up. Understand what? Banner asked first. All of this was specially arranged by my second brother, Xiaoyan said. He has the ability to make you remain rational after turning into a top beast. Do you think he can't restore you to your original human form? This is clearly my eldest brother telling you that you can never recover in order to test your character. He just wants to see if you have the determination to sacrifice yourself to protect the earth. Xiaoyan said everything. After hearing what Xiaoyan said, Banner was stunned, and so were Sam and the other superheroes. They just said a lot of sensational things, and you told me that this was specially arranged by them just to test whether Banner is willing to sacrifice himself to protect the Earth? Such a powerful force, if it is in the hands of people with bad intentions, it will be a huge threat to the whole world. Xianxia stepped forward and expressed his and Zhao Qing's views. And his words immediately made everyone present nod. Too powerful a force really requires a heart willing to sacrifice for the world to be able to control it. If the person who controls this powerful force is an ordinary person, without such a spirit of self-sacrifice, maybe something will happen in the future, and he will use this power to do evil. Who in this world can resist him? Banner, I will transmit a piece of code to you, which will be directly integrated into your brain. When you need it in the future, you can directly activate it by driving this piece of code, and you can switch between the giant beast and the human being. Xiaoqing flew forward and put one hand directly on the forehead of Banner, the top giant beast. As his palm fell, a lot of information began to be integrated into Banner's mind, and among them, there was an encrypted communication that no one else could hear. This code was actually created by you in the multiverse. He studied it with a group of scientists in the Super God Academy, and then combined it with super divine technology to create it. After I pass it to you, you will definitely know a small part of the super divine technology contained in this code. But I have to tell you that the content of super divine technology must not be leaked to the outside world. The multiverses have too much influence on each other, and sometimes it will cause a collision between the two universes, and once your universe is likely to collide with the universe I am in, my father will not hesitate to erase your entire universe. After Xiaoqing passed these words into Banner's mind, Banner was also shocked. He had already known that the identities of Xianxia and the others were very special, but he had never thought that they were actually from the multiverse. Moreover, the multiverse that Xiaoqing mentioned might be very special. Because this code was actually developed by himself in that universe and many scientists in a place called Super God Academy. Doesn't that mean that in that universe, there is an institution called Super God Academy, and there are many scientists in that institution who are the same as himself, or even more powerful than himself? Think about the operating procedures that Xiaoqing wrote in a few minutes to improve the combat capability of the mecha, and how he found out his genetic characteristics so quickly, and then helped him control the Gamma Beast in a targeted way. All of this shows that Xiaoqing's technological capabilities are already very powerful, much more powerful than his genius scientist. And all of this could not be developed by Xiaoqing himself. It is most likely developed by the Super Seminary, and then Xiaoqing has been studying in that academy since he was a child, so it was formed under the influence of what he saw and heard. Finally, there is one most important piece of information, that is, Xiaoqing's father has the power to directly destroy their entire universe. To directly destroy the entire universe, how powerful must you have? But this seems to be a very casual thing in Xiaoqing's mouth. At this moment, Banner realized that he might have come into contact with a very powerful civilization, and he had come into contact with one of the most powerful forces in the universe. Okay, drive this code in your mind and turn yourself into an ordinary human form. Xiaoqing retracted his palm and stepped aside. Hearing Xiaoqing's words, Banner recovered from his thoughts. He shook his head, then took 2 steps back and stood there blankly. Chapter 546 Reminder from Xiaoqing. As Banner activated the code in his mind, his body began to change immediately. Banner could feel that the energy structure of his body was changing rapidly. The originally full energy began to dissipate naturally, and then the cells of his body began to shrink and return to their original state. In just a moment, the originally huge top beast turned back to human appearance of only 1 meter tall. At the moment when Banner turned back into human, the surrounding gamma beasts were obviously agitated, but only for a moment. Perhaps it was because the energy of the top beasts just disappeared, making them feel that the mountain pressing on their heads was gone, so they began to get agitated. But then they sensed that the suppression from the blood and energy source was still there, which showed that the top beasts that ruled them were still alive, but just temporarily hidden. Therefore, the Gamma beasts were only agitated for a while, and they recovered quickly, and this situation would not happen again in the future. Unless one day Banner really died, they would really lose control completely. All the superheroes present had noticed the slight change just now, so they were all very aware of one thing. From now on, they must protect Banner no matter what, and they must not let Banner have any accidents. Otherwise, if Banner suddenly had an accident and was killed one day, all the Gamma beasts would riot again, and disasters like today would still happen again. You can try to become a top beast again, Zhao King reminded. Banner had just returned to his human form, and it felt a little weird to look at his bald state. But after hearing Zhao King's reminder, he immediately started to activate the code in his mind again. As his consciousness merged, the code was activated again, and his body began to expand rapidly and began to grow huge. The process of transforming into top beast allowed Banner to clearly sense the integration of energy. The way of quickly absorbing a large amount of gamma energy from the surrounding space and filling the gamma energy that had already dissipated in the body clearly contained extremely high technical content. Banner was shocked. He suddenly understood now why Zhao King had reminded him in that way and forced him to study the code in his mind. It turned out that this code actually contained a method to mobilize the energy naturally existing in the universe. In other words, if he really studied the technology in this code and applied it to reality, from then on, their Earth would have a brand new way to continuously absorb a large amount of energy from the universe. By doing this, the Earth's original technological level would be immediately elevated to a whole new level. A super civilization that would no longer lack energy, and could use this energy to develop all kinds of new technologies, even interstellar travel, technological weapons, and so on. If that time really comes, the power of the entire Earth will be far greater than it is now. No wonder Zhao King reminded me like this. If I really couldn't help but develop this technology, the original development trajectory of the entire Earth might really be seriously offset, and the collision of the two universes might really happen. And even if it doesn't happen, this is a unique technological civilization of the Super Seminary, and I shouldn't forcibly occupy other people's technological achievements. Banner figured everything out in his heart, and he didn't feel anything wrong with Zhao King's previous reminder. In fact, he was more grateful to Zhao King and Xianxia and the other four people. Being able to provide such advanced technology to himself is an incomparable trust in himself. For such a great favor, he must never repay kindness with hatred. It's just a simple stellar energy drive technology. Why is he so excited? Xiaoyan asked in some confusion. Of course, this question was only what she said to Xianxia and Zhao King in the dark communication channel, and no one else would hear it. Even if it's just a simple stellar energy drive, it can be applied to the human gene, which is also a relatively advanced technology. Moreover, the Earth is now strictly speaking, but it is only a pre-nuclear civilization, Zhao King answered. This stellar energy drive is one of the most basic technologies in their super god civilization. After all, above the stellar energy drive, they also have dark energy drive, void energy drive, and the latest cosmic dimension energy drive. But compared to the pre-nuclear civilization era, stellar energy drive is already a very advanced technology. After all, in this era, the most advanced stellar energy drive technology studied by people is just to convert solar energy through a solar panel. It can rely on its own cells and genes to absorb and convert the naturally existing stellar energy in the universe. Even if the Earth is given another 100 years, I am afraid that it may not be able to develop this technology. This is a piece of clothing made of nanomaterials. It will deform when you deform. When you return to human in the future, it can help you solve some small problems. While Xianxia was speaking, he threw a palm-sized iron piece directly at Banner. Banner is now in the form of a top behemoth and cannot reach out to take the iron piece, but when the iron piece falls on him, it immediately automatically locks on the top behemoth. It is a small piece that sticks directly to the middle of the huge head of the top behemoth and turns into a symbol like a black sword. That is the appearance of the sword of Xianxia, which is the mark of Xianxia. Banner did not like to exist in the form of this top behemoth, so he immediately had a driving code to transform into human appearance. After he shrank, the long sword-like logo began to change rapidly, and finally turned into a coat, directly wrapping Banner's entire body. Nanotechnology application. Stark had studied this project many years ago. But later, because of the appearance of the Gamma Beast, Stark adjusted the direction of research, not studying nanotechnology but Gundam technology, and finally the Avengers created this huge mecha, and every superhero also built such a set of mecha. The reason why there is no large-scale manufacturing and providing such mecha to ordinary people is actually due to some technical limitations. For example, to drive this huge mecha, you need strong mental strength and physical fitness, and ordinary humans cannot meet this requirement. Only superheroes can do it. In addition, large mechas are too difficult to manufacture, and if the power is too strong and given to other people, it is easy to hurt people if the other party goes berserk, so there are only these at present. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 547, here, the witch Agatha is in charge? Nanotechnology is not a very advanced technology in the Marvel Universe, especially in the universe where the Avengers are located. Therefore, Xianxia gave such things very casually, and did not give Banner any restrictions. Banner will definitely study it later, which can be regarded as a regret that Iron Man did not continue to study nanotechnology in order to study the Gundam mecha. However, no matter how they do it in the future, and for what reason, it has little to do with Xianxia and them now. In the following time, Banner ordered all the Gamma beasts to return to the sea and return to the ice of the Arctic, and hide from it. In the future, they will only appear again after they feel the call of the top beast, that is, Banner. And Banner, he returned to the Avengers, and first held a celebration party with other superheroes, which was also a thank you party. The main purpose is to thank Xianxia for their help. After all, if it weren't for Xianxia and Thornton's help, all the mechas before Banner came would probably be destroyed by the Gamma Beast army. And now Banner can switch between human and top behemoth at any time, thanks to the help provided by Zhao King. Today's Earth has not only solved the crisis of Gamma Behemoth, but Gamma Behemoth will also become part of the Earth's defense in the future. Banner can also switch states at will, and he will not lose his mind after switching. All of this is thanks to the help of Xianxia, his three brothers and sisters, and Thornton. After a round of thanks, Xianxia and others also relaxed. This kind of celebration after experiencing a great war and winning made everyone very happy. Especially Thornton. He has been in the super god civilization for too long. There is no fighting in that peaceful world, no passionate battles, and he is going to be bored to death. And this time, although he was stopped not long after the fight, he was also addicted. Thinking that they can continue to go to other universes in the future, they may encounter the same situation as this universe, and Thornton is very happy. Soon, Xianxia and others left. They opened the space portal and left this universe completely. When they passed through the portal and came to a brand new universe, they saw a scene that made them speechless. What's going on? How come the core of the entire universe is actually an actor? Xiaoyan was a little confused. They had just scanned the situation on the Earth, and after analysis and summary, they concluded that the strongest person on the Earth in this universe was the witch Agatha. But the problem is that this witch Agatha is actually an actor, and she is preparing a grand movie shooting with a rich man Howard. Zhao King, what do you think? Xianxia ignored Xiaoyan's complaints and looked at Zhao King on the side. From the current analysis, Agatha should want to track Qingyun of the Eternal Clan by performing, and then absorb his power, Zhao King answered. The information he investigated on the Earth was analyzed in more detail, so he saw not only the surface, but also inferred some general situations. Agatha has the ability to absorb other people's magical power. This is recorded in the database of the Super Seminary. Agatha once thought about absorbing my mother's chaos magic. In this universe, Agatha should be able to absorb more than just magical power, so she focused on the Eternals, from the data read by the Eye of Insight. She should have absorbed the power of the other 9 Eternals. Now only Jin Ji's is missing. Zhao King explained the situation in detail. To absorb the power of all Eternals? I'm afraid her target is not just the Eternals, right? Xianxia didn't think that after Agatha had gone to great lengths to do all this, her target was just the power of 10 Eternals. After all, although the Eternals are powerful, even if the power of 10 Eternal teams is added together, it is impossible to compare to chaos magic. In their universe, Agatha is targeting chaos magic. This Agatha has become the strongest existence on the entire Earth, but her eyes are only on the Eternals. This seems a bit too childish. I also think that Agatha's goal may not only be the power of the Eternals. Zhao King agreed with Xianxu's idea. Agatha has already achieved such a level, her goal will definitely not be just the Eternals. Let's go to Hollywood first. Since we don't know what's going on yet, let's sneak in and see the situation, Xianxu said, and planned to fly directly to the direction of Hollywood where Agatha was. Brother, we have to make special arrangements this time, Zhao King interrupted Xianxu. What do you mean? Xianxu stopped and looked at Zhao King. This time, we need to use the power of the void to disguise ourselves, so as to avoid being discovered by Agatha. In addition, Thornton must stay outside. If he goes there, he will definitely be exposed directly. Zhao King expressed his concerns. If they want to go to Agatha to investigate, it is better to hide their whereabouts. In his calculation, if they use the power of the void to hide, they should be able to avoid Agatha's investigation. Can the power of the void completely avoid Agatha's detection? Xianxu wanted to fly directly there at the beginning because he felt that no matter how they hid, they could not avoid the exploration of Agatha's energy. But in this situation, it seems that Zhao King has a way to avoid Agatha's exploration. Through the void technology, the energy of the super gene can be changed into an unprecedented mode. As long as we don't use our abilities and don't call on energy, we can stay hidden. No one can find it, not even Agatha, who has been strengthened by absorbing the power of the Eternals, Zhao King said. In this case, you set the program and we will do it according to your settings. Xianxu did not hesitate. Since Zhao King said it was okay, he must be sure. In terms of technology, Zhao King is definitely the authority among the three siblings. Yes, I will write the code and then transfer it to your super gene system. Zhao King nodded, and then immediately opened a projection screen and recompiled the sacred coding symbols on it. The power of the void began to constantly reconcile, hiding its own energy little by little. Chapter 548, Eating the Melon and Eating it on Your Own Head. Completely concealing the energy aura on his body, Thornton was then arranged to hide on an uninhabited island. Thornton was reluctant at first, but Xianxu said that this was for major considerations, and Xiaoyan directly prepared a large amount of barbecue for Thornton, so Thornton didn't say anything in the end. After all, there is food and drink, and when leaving the super god civilization, Li Qingyun said that he must listen to Xianxu. Therefore, Thornton had no reason not to execute. After making all the preparations, Xianxu, Zhao King and Xiaoyan came to the Hollywood film and television base. There are many people coming and going in this place on weekdays, so the arrival of Xianxu and the other three did not attract anyone's attention. The three of them easily entered the performance base, and the entire filming crew and all the filming personnel had arrived at the scene. Among them was Jin Jack, an eternal actor specially invited from Asan. All actors are in place, directors are in place, get all the cameras ready, lighting crew, pay attention, countdown begins, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, as the last number fell, the lights immediately lit up, and the spotlight was now shining directly in the center of the stage, shining on a woman in a purple dress. Is that the witch Agatha? Xiaoyan looked at Agatha, who appeared under the spotlight on the stage, feeling a little surprised. Well, this look is much better than the witch Agatha in our universe, no wonder she can become a big movie star. Zhao King nodded and said. Jinja is out too, Xianxu said, and almost at the moment when he finished speaking, another spotlight fell and hit the place not far away opposite the witch Agatha. It was a very handsome man, a standard actor. As soon as Jinja appeared, the witch Agatha walked over, and then the music started, and the two began to sing and dance on the stage. By the way, they don't look very good, they are not as pretty as their father and mother. Xiaoyan looked at them for a while and began to complain. You can't compare these ordinary people with their parents. Zhao King was a little speechless. He judged the appearance of the two people in front of him from the perspective of ordinary people. But their father, mother and several aunts, are they still ordinary people? Not to mention Angel Yan, Kilin, Hexi, who are already beautiful. Even their mothers Wanda and Hila, after being with Li Qingyun, they are nourished by love and blessed by super god technology, and they are becoming more and more beautiful. Not only do their appearances remain at their youngest and most beautiful, but even their figures and skin are the most perfect in the settings. Their mothers are truly eternally youthful and beautiful forever. But Agatha in front of him, although she also has a lifespan far beyond that of ordinary people, her appearance cannot be controlled at the most beautiful time in her life, and she cannot adjust her skin and figure at will. That's right. It's really inappropriate to compare them with the super soldiers and gods of our super god civilization. Xiaoyan also agreed with Zhao Qing's statement. Super god civilization relies on the existence of super god technology. Every core member of super god civilization will remain in the best state of life for a lifetime. No matter whether they are men or women, it is the most perfect time in their lives. They were originally a group of the most outstanding people, and they chose to keep the most glorious period of their lives. Among the core members of the entire super god civilization, no one is ugly. Xiaoyan has seen too much, so she doesn't like Agatha and Jinji in front of her. Because she doesn't understand what level ordinary people are. She didn't even know what the witch Agatha in their original universe looked like. Look, they're starting to fight, Xiansha reminded, and Zhao Qing and Xiaoyan immediately turned their heads to look at the stage. There, the battle between Agatha and Jinji has begun. Although these two people still seem to be acting, they have actually started fighting directly. The magic energy continued to impact, and the battle between them continued. Even the other dancers who were originally performing with them could only retreat and leave the stage. What did you do to the other members of the Eternals? Jinji approached Agatha, clamped Agatha's hands with both hands, and questioned in a voice that only the two of them could hear. However, Xiansha and the others could actually hear every word of their conversation from the beginning to now. I just absorbed their power, but didn't kill them, Agatha answered. I need to borrow your power, so that I can show a more perfect stage performance. I believe you are willing to help me, right? Agatha asked. She now has everything ready, except for the last power from Jinji. As long as she can get it, everything else will come naturally. Such a cute girl, what? Agatha just thought Jinji was going to say something, but Jinji's eyes suddenly became dull, and he was looking at the audience in a daze. Over there, that girl looks like the most perfect princess. Jinji ignored Agatha's surprise and pointed directly to the bottom of the stage. The direction Jinji pointed was exactly where Xiaoyan was. Agatha looked in the direction Jinji pointed and immediately saw Xiaoyan, and she also saw Xiansha and Zhao Qing at the same time. For a moment, she couldn't help but sigh. What handsome two guys, they're born to act. Agatha was also sighing. However, at this moment, Xiansha and the other two in the audience were confused. They were just eating melons, and now the melons suddenly fell on their heads. What's wrong? Howard also suddenly noticed that something was wrong with the two people on the stage, and asked immediately. But Agatha and Jinji didn't answer him, they just looked at the audience. This made Howard very confused, so he immediately adjusted the spotlight and shone it in the direction they were looking. Then he noticed Xiansha and the other three. Under the spotlight, the appearance of these three teenagers could be shown more clearly. Wow, three handsome and beautiful teenagers, Howard couldn't help but sigh. As a director, he knew the value of handsome guys and beautiful girls. Although these three people didn't dress up deliberately, and even hid in an inconspicuous corner of the crowd. But as long as you take a closer look, you can be sure that they are definitely handsome men and beautiful women, who are one in a million. Chapter 549, Make the Best of It. Click. Today's recording ends here, Howard shouted and immediately stopped today's recording. He jumped down from the director's seat, and then hurriedly walked towards the location where Xiansha and the other three were. Xiansha turned around and took his two younger brothers and sisters away. But they needed to disguise their identities at the moment and could not use their abilities directly. There were still many onlookers around them, and their way was completely blocked by those spectators. Especially when they saw that director Howard and the two leading actors Agatha and Jinji were all walking towards this side, they squeezed forward even more frantically, blocking the retreat tightly. This time, Xiansha and the other three really couldn't leave even if they wanted to. Brother, it seems that we are the ones who are eating the melon this time, Zhao Qing sighed helplessly. When the enemy comes, we will fight him. When the water comes, we will block it with earth. Anyway, we have never experienced it. What is it like to be noticed by the director and the actors? Let's just experience it. By the way, Xiansha saw that he could not leave at this time. He did not want to be exposed too early and cause the original purpose of investigating Agatha to fail, so he simply went with the flow. Let those people find him, and then they will go along with it. Okay, since the eldest brother has arranged it this way, we will do it, Zhao Qing sighed helplessly. If they let me perform, as long as I go on stage, the two leading actors will definitely be eclipsed. Xiaoyan didn't care at all. A little girl of 15 or 16 years old is originally playful. She doesn't mind going on stage to perform or something. Since it has come to this, let's take it easy. Since it has come to this point, let's just observe it slowly and naturally. Xianxia didn't think too much now. Anyway, things have developed to this point now, and next they just need to do what they originally wanted to do step by step. Continue to observe the movements of the witch Agatha, and then figure out what the other party's real intention is. 3 children, what are your names? Jinjie took the lead and stepped forward. He was the first to notice these 3 people, so he was also the one who wanted to pull these 3 people into the crew to participate in the performance. We are not children, Xiaoyan complained helplessly. Yes, these 3 are already 15 or 16 years old. 15 or 16 years old should be called teenagers, not children, Agatha said, but in fact, she had the same idea as Jinjie, and they all thought that Xianxia, Zhaoqing and Xiaoyan were all children. Okay, I was wrong, these 3 are teenagers, 3 outstanding teenagers, Jinjie responded. He couldn't refute Agatha on this matter, because he didn't judge it well at the time. He just looked at the 3 teenagers who were not yet adults from his own identity, with the eyes of an old man who had lived for tens of millions of years. What else could they be but children? In order not to reveal their identities, Xianxia and the others would not use the eye of insight to read the information in Jinjie and Agatha's minds at this time, but he could tell what Jinjie was thinking simply from the expressions on their faces. Using age to judge whether the other party is a child is not recognized in the super seminary. For the super seminary, super soldiers theoretically have eternal lifespans. If they are divided according to age, everything will be messed up. Therefore, in the super seminary, they are divided more by ability. Those who have powerful strength and huge knowledge reserves are the seniors. It is not that whoever is older is the senior. Especially in Xianxia's family. Their fathers are only a few dozen years old in total, but their mothers and aunts range from a few dozen to tens of thousands of years old. If calculated by age, Li Qingyun should be Hizai's great-great-great-great-grandson. But in fact, Li Qingyun is the absolute ruler of the super god civilization. He and Hizai are in a relationship, although everyone knows what is going on. The two have never made it public, so they have never been husband and wife. The 4 matriarchs of the super god civilization, the oldest Angel Yan is 7,000 years old, Xianxia's mother Hila is more than 2,000 years old, and Qilin and Wanda are only in their 30s. But the status of the 4 people is the same. If we use age as a comparison, wouldn't it be a mess? Well, don't worry about our age. What do you 3 big guys want to do when you come to us? Xianxia got straight to the point and asked the 3 adults in front of him. I want you to join our crew and perform with us. What do you think? Jinjie asked. Yes, that's what I think, Howard said excitedly. But, the 3 of us don't know how to perform, Zhaoqing spoke. With Xianxia's personality, it was not suitable to communicate with these 3 guys at this time. It doesn't matter if you don't know, we can teach you, Agatha said. She was only interested in the looks of these 3 boys. But now that she was close to them, she had a vague feeling that there seemed to be something very obscure hidden in these 3 boys. Agatha didn't know what this thing was, and she couldn't even be sure whether it was some powerful power or something like that. But after she absorbed the power of other Eternals, there was nothing on this earth that she couldn't see through. This obscure thing made her feel very strange, so even though she didn't know what was going on at the moment, she wanted to keep these 3 people and investigate them carefully. That's right, they are 2 world-famous stars. With them teaching you, you will definitely learn quickly. With your excellent conditions, maybe in a few years you will be able to become a big star like them. Howard was very excited now. He already had a hunch that as long as he trained these 3 little guys, they would definitely be 3 cash cows in the future, and he would definitely be able to make a lot of money back then. Compared to other Howards in the multiverse, this Howard is a pure money grubber. All he wants is to make money. Zhaoqing knew that he could not find any reason to refuse in this situation, because ordinary teenagers would never refuse in this situation. Then, if we join your crew, what will you treat us? Zhaoqing immediately entered the state of a normal person, bargaining with the director. Zhaoqing, he is still the all-rounder after all. Chapter 550 Xianxia's Disadvantages. In the end, Xianxia and his friends joined the crew. Zhaoqing got them a very good treatment. They lived in a mansion, enjoyed the best food, and then quietly waited for the performance time. Why did it suddenly become like this? Xianxia complained helplessly. They were warriors, but now they became actors. They were gods, but now they were treated like monkeys by everyone. There is no way to hide your identity, Zhao King said. His eldest brother was very serious about everything he did on weekdays, and he was the best among the three siblings in terms of judgment. But Xianxia actually had some shortcomings. To be precise, Xianxia also had some things he hated. For example, like now. Actors and the like, Xianxia really didn't like it. After all, he had received very strict training since he was a child, and what he did was serious. Fighting, mastering knowledge, learning how to rule the kingdom and so on. So, now he was asked to suddenly change from a warrior to an actor dancing on the stage. He really couldn't accept it. Brother, you can complain too. Xiaoyan was a little surprised. Why, brother can't complain, Xianxia asked directly. It's not that I can't, but this kind of thing is really rare, Xiaoyan said. Besides, if you don't like it, why didn't you just say no? In Xiaoyan's view, no matter what the three of them do, it is Xianxia's decision. If Xianxia didn't want to and just said no, Xiaoyan and Zhao King would definitely follow without hesitation. Brother didn't refuse, because from our point of view, this is the best opportunity to observe the situation and investigate the truth. Zhao King knows her brother. Although he doesn't like it in his heart, he will still execute it without hesitation for the sake of the overall situation. Xianxia can become a good leader because of his excellent decision-making ability and overall view. Okay, Xiaoyan also understands what Zhao King means. But she doesn't understand it anyway. If Xiaoyan comes, she will never do anything she doesn't like, no matter whether he investigates or not. They came out to take risks and have fun. If they are not happy, why come out? Staying in the super god civilization, with Li Qingyun and so many powerful people in the super god civilization, no one in the universe can affect their happy life. Moreover, the lifespan of super soldiers is eternal, which means that Li Qingyun and others can protect them forever. There is no danger or worry for Xiaoyan. Xianxia and Zhao King just shook their heads helplessly at Xiaoyan's thoughts at the moment. Xiaoyan was born in such an environment, and she has already developed such a character. No matter how much they say, it will be useless. Moreover, Xianxia and Zhao King are very clear that although Xiaoyan looks heartless and behaves as if she is not motivated, but Xiaoyan is also very smart and a very determined person. The time when Li Qingyun personally asked them to participate in the investigation of the Dark Doctor Strange was to see the situation of the three brothers and sisters, and the investigation at that time had already produced accurate results. The three brothers and sisters are all very outstanding. Ding dong. Suddenly, the doorbell rang from the door. Xianxia, Zhao King and Xiaoyan also adjusted their states immediately after hearing the doorbell. Xiaoyan stood up from the sofa and walked towards the door. When she opened the door, it was the witch Agatha standing there. Agatha? You came here so late, is there something wrong? Xiaoyan pretended to ask in confusion. It was already 10 o'clock outside. Normally, it was almost time to go to bed at this time. No, I just wanted to see if you three have adapted to this arrangement, Agatha said. Aren't you going to invite me in to sit down? Agatha came here to investigate the three siblings. If she was stopped outside the door like this, she would not be able to investigate more. Oh, please come in. Xiaoyan seemed to react suddenly and quickly made an invitation gesture. Seeing Xiaoyan inviting her, Agatha went into the house naturally. At this moment, Zhao King and Xianxia were sitting leisurely on the sofa in the hall. Seeing Agatha coming in, the two men immediately stood up and greeted Agatha very politely. Agatha naturally responded enthusiastically. However, her eyes had already scanned the situation at the scene. These three people said that their parents were far away and they were out for fun, but their every move was completely unlike those normal people who traveled a long distance. Moreover, how can three such young teenagers wander around in such a chaotic world so peacefully and casually? The more Agatha observed, the more she found that these three people were not simple. But even if she felt that they were not simple, she could not detect anything wrong at the moment. Because, if they were superpowers, with mysterious powers or something, with her current ability, it would be impossible for her to be unaware of it. Unless, the three of them have far more powerful powers than I have now. But is this possible? This was the only possibility Agatha could think of, but every time she thought of this, she would immediately overturn this idea. Because on the current Earth, it is impossible for someone so young to have more power than her. And Agatha, do you think there is something wrong with us? Zhao King asked directly, and his word "and" immediately interrupted Agatha's original state of thinking. What "and"? Do I look that old? Agatha asked back immediately. Women all care about their appearance, especially Agatha, who is a big star. No, but I heard Uncle Howard say that you have been famous for a long time, so I think you must be about the same age as my mother, Zhao King deliberately called out and to disrupt Agatha's thoughts. Although it may be an age, I definitely look much younger than your mother, right? Agatha said confidently. How can you compare with my mother? Xiaoyan was immediately unhappy when he heard Agatha's words. Their mother was the youngest and most beautiful, and she would always be. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.